Hey everybody, Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. Another week, and we got to start the show with another cold open, talking about all the crazy stuff that's happening in the world of professional wrestling right now. Unless you've been under a rock, you should know on Twitter the hashtag Speaking Out has been trending all weekend with victims coming out and sharing their stories of disgusting stuff that's happened to them in the pro wrestling world. I'm happy that these women are speaking out and getting their stories out, and that we're getting the wrestling business cleaned up of all these scumbags who are doing these awful things.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Feels like we have to do one of these cold opens like once every couple weeks with how many things have happened outside of the wrestling industry and inside of it. It's kind of unfortunate, but me and Jeremy, we haven't really we didn't even know if we were going to do a cold open or kind of address this because some of these issues, honestly, I'm not saying that Japan or Japanese wrestling is exempt from them, but in light of the most of the allegations that are being made really kind of center more on like the Western side of wrestling, but we'd be remiss to not at least discuss it to some degree. Even though this show's not necessarily about that, I think it's important. I don't think we should like pretend that the elephant isn't in the room, obviously.
Right. Definitely not trying to sweep it under the rug. I know several of you guys have reached out during this COVID period and talked about how this show has been a great distraction for all the stuff going on. But, we don't want to forget. We don't want to just pass over all the big issues that are going on. So at times we are going to cover this stuff. And I'm sorry if we're kind of bringing you back in the real world, but we got to talk about this just for a little bit.
Yeah, I guess what I'm about to say, I'll just say this. These are my personal thoughts and opinions. They don't necessarily reflect that of the network or even the show or Jeremy or anything of that nature. And I hope I say the right things here. I don't want to misspeak or, overstate or anything like that. But obviously there is an issue and there's a problem in the wrestling industry right now as it comes to all types of different abuse of power, abuse of position, pedophilia, grooming, sexual misconduct, just general lasciviousness. Like it's really bad. And it's, wrestling in general is not the only one that, has experienced this. We saw what happened with the Me Too movement, the past couple of years. And, I think it's something that's always kind of been known, especially if you are deep in the wrestling industry, if you operate in it at all or have a knowledge of what the boys were like back in the days. This really doesn't come as too much of a shock to you, but as these allegations have kind of grown and there's been more and more, people sharing their stories, sharing their experiences and kind of confessing as to the things that have been done to them. It's just very clear that there's a big problem here. What I will say is like, my opinion is if you're in this wrestling industry and you're using it as some sort of platform to hurt and abuse people, to manipulate them and, to use them as, a sex object or, exert some sort of power control over them, it's just really wrong. I don't think that sort of stuff should be tolerated whatsoever in 2020. And, I think it's important that we listen to what is being said and don't discount them. I know there's a lot of people who from all different walks of life kind of want to have a hot take on this sort of thing and, kind of determine, what stories are or aren't valid, what the repercussions are going to be, and kind of play detective. And, this kind of can almost be made into like a political issue. And the reality is it's a human rights issue, and it's a story about abuse. And it's important that we listen to what is being said, and hopefully justice is carried out. In situations where it's needed to be. I think it is a great thing. Ultimately, I'm not happy that this is happening for the sake of those that it's happened to, but I think it's great that we're starting to cultivate a culture or an atmosphere where people who have been victimized are kind of able to kind of come forward and speak their mind and kind of share their experience. And ultimately, I know that there's a lot of people that think that sometimes people do things like this for attention, but the majority of the people coming forward, honestly, are people in the wrestling industry, female workers, as well as, some male, but mostly female, who oftentimes if they came forward, this would not benefit their career. This is not going to help them get signed to a major company. It's not going to help them get dates. This in this specific industry, it's uniquely different to where most of the people who are coming forward, it's not going to benefit them. So it has to cause you to wonder, with the sheer number of stories that are coming out and the bad repercussions that generally would be doled out for those who did speak up. There's clearly an issue here. The last thing I will say, I don't want to misspeak, but obviously I will say this. I think it's important that before any sort of ultimate judgment comes out as far as all these allegations go, I think it is important to kind of wait and see how things shake out just in general. In situations where it's very apparent what has occurred and, the proof is there, the evidence is there, that's one thing. But at the same time, there will be, unfortunately, some instances where allegations will be made and they might not necessarily be founded. And just as much as we want victims to be heard and believed, and that is the primary thing here, you don't want to also victimize someone who might not have done anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because we're all people and, there should be an idea of justice. And I'm not saying that to stick up for anybody or say that I believe that there's a good number of these things that are unfounded. I don't think that's the case. I think there's a good reason why we're seeing so many of these. But I am hearing a lot of people saying once an allegation is thrown out, that is it. They did it. And, we don't always know that. And so it is important to kind of just see what takes place. And I'm not calling anybody a liar or anything of that nature. I'm just saying, it's important to kind of figure out the facts, figure out what's happened here. And then the last thing is, I've seen some people say that with these women coming forward and making these statements that they're not protecting the business. The reality of the matter is that the people in power, the men and women who, mostly men, but the people who have perpetrated these acts, they're the ones who were not protecting the business. They're the ones who have besmirched the craft and, this thing that we all love. And, I hope those people go, whoever they are.
I mean, from bookers to creative talents, referees, in-ring performers, people in the office. We've seen stories pretty much come out on every position, and it's sickening. And I absolutely agree with you. I know there's the old saying, protect the business, protect the boys, but that has to change. And I'm glad that these stories are coming out and that actions being taken, people are being released and removed from positions and being forced out of promotions, and that's protecting the business, and that's saving the business for the future and making it a better, a safer working environment all across the board.
Yeah, these brothers and sisters, as they like to call themselves, be a good brother, be a good sister. That's, dude, it's your sister.
Right.
And generally speaking, you verbally mentally abuse somebody, you don't do that to someone that's your family, and so it's if you're doing that, they are the business. These people that everyone is screenshotting their DMs and, cyber assaulting them. And, I haven't even really been on Twitter because it's just a cesspool right now. And, you hear stories about these people trying to share their story and people are freaking out on them. It's like, they're the business.
Right.
And they're getting hurt by that same business. So, they're the ones that need to be protected.
Exactly. And one last thing before we kind of close up this little segment here. So one New Japan name that has been mentioned throughout these allegations and speaking out.
There have been a few.
Yeah, but one of the ones that we've been getting questions about, and one of the main stars, Will Ospreay, has been brought up from the situation a few years ago where one of his friends was accused of something and he was trying to protect them and got somebody blackballed. And so that kind of resurfaced throughout this weekend, and there's been a lot of debate on Will Ospreay. And we had two questions. We had a question from Reddit user Viking Pain saying, the speaking out movement has implicated some New Japan wrestlers for their actions in the past, particularly Will Ospreay. Should New Japan issue a public statement about this since they become a global wrestling company? And at Jack Shears Grapp says, with all the speaking out accusation, is it wise for New Japan to keep Will Ospreay under contract?
I don't know how they'll deal with it, to be honest with you. I can't remember of too many major sexual cases that sprung up that New Japan ever really dealt with directly. The ones that do come to mind are maybe say situations where infidelity was involved, and those kind of came to light, like with Taichi and Shibata and recently with Taka Michinoku, that sort of thing. That's taken very seriously over there. But when it's a gaijin worker, the only thing that I can really think of offhand is the allegations that I think are kind of resurfacing, but were made against Michael Elgin years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
And they didn't really deal with it or make public mention of it. At the same time, Michael Elgin wasn't necessarily their highest profile gaijin. He was pretty high, but by the time that stuff was coming out, he was already kind of de-escalating on the cards due to injury and inactivity and other people kind of rising up in the meantime. And you did kind of notice that I have to imagine that some of his D-push probably did stem from that sort of stuff. They were never able to really use him in any meaningful way after that in the States. He kind of was just a Japanese-only attraction until they parted ways. And that's a totally unique and different situation from, what's going on with Will. I don't know how they deal with it or handle it. They might be kind of insulated enough to where they don't really have to make mention of it. I'm not saying that's the way to go, but they might be quiet about it and just kind of move on. Excuse me. Kind of move on. But ultimately, if they do deal with it, I guess it kind of depends on what they end up finding, and what ends up being proven. From what I've seen, it doesn't really look good for Will. Some of the statements that he's made seem to be contradictory to facts that can be proven by other wrestlers and promoters. But ultimately, I guess it just kind of depends on how they view it culturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And as far as if they should make a public statement, maybe, this is it's not a new situation. It's something that's happened, 3 years ago. And it was kind of a big deal when it first kind of started coming out. And we don't know if New Japan did anything about it, if they investigated, if they punished Will Ospreay and just never said anything about it, or how they feel about the whole situation.
I don't think this stuff was really I know some of it was made public at the time, but I don't think it really touched Japan. So I have to imagine that this would be a new situation for them, especially just given the the new kind of light that's being shed on all of it and the attention it's getting.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I honestly don't know what the right call is, if you keep him under contract or not, or you get rid of him. But like you said, knowing New Japan, a lot of what they do is kind of based on what is kind of culturally acceptable in Japan. We've seen in the past, like Taka Michinoku or any kind of stuff like that, where people are cheating on their wives or getting involved in a scandal, they will release them and put a statement out there. But with Ospreay, I mean, he's now living in Japan, but don't know how this story really affects things in Japan, how New Japan sees it.
Yeah, I guess it just kind of depends with that. As far as like my personal opinion, I don't really know enough about the situation to make a direct statement. It's kind of what I was talking to prior. I'd hate to say like absolutely, he's done. They should never work with him, and maybe some of the things that have been alleged aren't true. Maybe they are, and if they are, there needs to probably be some sort of appropriate action. I just, I'm not in the position to really say what that is because, again, I don't know the full situation personally.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've been trying to do my research and kind of see what's going on, but I don't know the full story. I don't know, and we don't know the full truth. We don't know exactly who's part of what story is real. And so I don't want to, again, like you were saying, just come out and say, yeah, Will should be done. It's a wrap, get him out of there. So, we'll be keeping our eyes on the situation, and obviously we'll keep you updated on any news and coverage that comes out of the Will Ospreay scenario. So I think that's going to wrap up this little segment here. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
How's it going, everybody? This is Mike Sempervive, a Wrestling Observer Live in the Adam and Mike Big Audio Nightmare, located over at WrestlingObserver.com. We want you to listen to our show, but we thank you very much for checking out Keeping It Strong Style here on the Social Suplex Radio Network.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be reviewing the first 3 nights of the New Japan Cup, answering your questions, and covering all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments that provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SUPLEX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SUPLEX. All right, young boy, we're back at it. New Japan Cup action.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a first in the history of Keeping It Strong Style. We did, after that awesome cold open that you guys just heard, we recorded what quite frankly was the greatest 20 minutes of opening dialogue that we have ever done. Only for Jeremy to stop the recording and say, oh, we're not recording.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. Botchamania on my part. I don't know, maybe the cold open threw me off, and maybe I thought I pushed record on the second segment to start this show, but I didn't. So I botched. So we just lost that, 20 minutes of audio gold there.
God, I mean, so many things we could have done with that 20 minutes. We will never get that back.
That 20 minutes would have changed the wrestling podcast world.
It would have changed the industry.
It would have. Oh, man. But yeah, New Japan Cup. Happy New Japan's back. Tournament's been very exciting so far. We've had some very good matches. We've had some great matches, some match of the year candidates.
Yeah. Well, as I said on the first recording, I'm just glad to have a reason to live again. We haven't had New Japan since February. I put on a brave face for all you, for everybody. I told you it was fine, that everything was going well. It was not fine. It was a struggle. It was a grind each and every day. And it wasn't until literally night one that I was like, I have purpose in this world again. New Japan is back.
Yeah, so happy to have our New Japan back. And like we mentioned, a tournament was a great way to come back. You can tell the stories within the tournament, and that's what we've been seeing in this New Japan Cup. We've been seeing a lot of great stories, and it's just been very exciting watching everything play out.
Yeah, I love that they're doing that because, we kind of wondered how things were going to progress, after the long layoff. What did this all kind of mean? How are we going to kind of get invested? And like you mentioned, we kind of alluded to the idea that a tournament might be a good idea. But not only have they just brought in a tournament, which in and of itself, adds prestige, stakes, and things of that nature, New Japan has done what they consistently always do, and that's tell long-form storytelling within the confines of those tournaments. And they've literally taken us from almost feeling like there's no way that there could be any continuity to suddenly it's like, oh, everything's great. Like, we got stories, we got stakes, we got investments. And you can you're just kind of eyeing some of the potential matchups that are down the line. You kind of see how it's all shaking out, and it's keeping you guessing. And there's been quite a few upsets, and it's just been really awesome to kind of have this back, after all this time.
Yeah, every match means something. Even the multi-man tags that they're previewing the next round matches.
That's a lie. That's a lie. Don't tell people that. That's a lie.
I mean, we tell people all the time, there's little seeds that they plant in those multi-man matches that play out down the line.
I don't like New Japan. They got 8-man tags on every single show. Well, I'm just going to say Clyde because I'm thinking of Ricky and Clive. Well, Clive.
Welcome back.
Which I am so glad that they're back, by the way. But this is a different Clive. This is not, Clive. This is fictional Clive. Well, Clive, I'm tired of seeing Seth Rollins wrestle Dolph Ziggler for the 18th time this year on Monday Night Raw. That's what I don't like. Give me the fast-paced LIJ, 10-man anytime. I don't care.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about New Japan Cup here the first 3 nights, and I watched the New Japan Cup using the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today to get more details. Like we mentioned last week, one of my favorite features is that spoiler-free mode that kind of blurs out any potential spoilers on NJPW World. And, New Japan, it was airing live our time, 6 a.m. Eastern. I'm not all the time getting up to watch the shows live, and, there are people trying to spoil your boy and Twitter threads. And Sir Sam, but your boy's too smart for that. I'm blocking notifications. I'm using my spoiler blocker on the NJPW EXT, and I'm not getting spoiled out here.
As infuriating as a spoiler might end up being, that's nothing compared to trying to use the actual NJPW World app and just go forward. Just going forward in small increments. It seems like it should be so simple. It is not. But that's not the case with the NJPW extension. They have now added a 10-second backwards and 10-second forward feature, and it has changed my life. Danny's doing God's work, man.
Yeah. And one last plug to WrestlingHeadlines.com, doing a weekly column with Sir Sam and Imp. You've heard those guys here on our show before. And teaming up with those guys to do weekly New Japan Cup review columns. So every week we are dropping our top 3 performers, top 3 matches of the tournament. So you can check that out at WrestlingHeadlines.com.
And on JoshuaSmith.com, I will be right.
Oh my gosh.
I will be writing my critique of Imp, Sam, and Jeremy's weekly.
You'll be burying
weekly.
us every week.
No, I'll be listing my top 3 article writers in order, and I'll be mentioning who I think has the good takes and who's got the hot dumpster fire trash takes to let y'all know.
If they put in and out trash, you're gonna rip them to bits. Oh, man.
Sam, was it Sam or Imp who asked us to do this?
To do what?
To be involved with the article writing.
Sam.
Yeah, so Sam asked us, and I was like, no, I'm much too busy. And then I was like, I'm going to be busy with my own project, writing about y'all.
Oh, man. All right, so let's talk about New Japan Cup. What are your overall thoughts first 3 nights?
You know, man, last week I got to say I had some real big reservations after watching the Together show, which essentially was a empty arena Road to show. I thought, we discussed it last week. I don't need to rehash it, but I think one of my initial feelings was that maybe the empty arena might still be a detriment. The atmosphere might not, be conducive to what we're used to seeing. And I wasn't totally sure how it would all shake out once tournament matches sort of started. Not saying I was completely off base, but I got to tell you, a lot of that has definitely been alleviated starting with night 1 of the New Japan Cup. It's been awesome.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. The atmosphere you would think would be thrown off with no fans. And, it does take some adjustment to get to, but I thought they did a great job overall with the matches and the structures. There wasn't too many playing to the crowd. And, I watched all 3 shows with Japanese commentary. Let me tell you, the Japanese commentary for me helped a lot. They were so excited. Milano and Liger, those are the only 2 names I really know. But the whole commentary team each night have done a fantastic job getting into it. So excited, so amped. It got me fired up. There were so many times where I was pulling a Joe Lanza and pacing around the dojo and getting so pumped about these matches.
Yeah, and I even found myself cheering for particular matches that, struck me as being great because, we are kind of, hungry and thirsty for, great wrestling, which there's been a lack of that ever since COVID-19 started. Like, yes, there's been acceptable shows and, good matches, but truly great matches have been few and far between. So it's like, once they start happening, I'm like freaking out, out of my seat. Like, it's incredible. And I'm almost kind of making up for that lack of audience myself. I have yet to listen to any Kevin Kelly's commentary. Now, Kevin is not there in Japan due to, travel restrictions and everything of that nature. So he's been unable to actually call any of these shows live. So he is working, overtime, doing tape delay commentary. So they've been doing a pretty good job putting video on demand shows of these New Japan Cup nights with English commentary out, just a single man booth, just Kevin. But I don't know if they're good, or I'm sure they're good, but I don't know what the experience is like because I'm watching them in real time so we can cover them for the show, and I'm just watching in the Japanese commentary, which, like you said, has been very lively.
Yeah, and there'll be one match that we'll talk about in particular where I think the Japanese commentary might have helped. One of the guys in our group was like, yeah, you guys were kind of high on this match. I watched it with English commentary, and I don't know, it seemed, kind of regular to me. So, and we'll talk about that match in a second, but yeah.
That's surprising.
But yeah, the Japanese commentary, I know some people, they like the English and want to wait for the English, but like we said, we watch in real time to get our reviews and reports done for this show, and Japanese commentary has been excellent.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's start off with night 1 here. So night 1, we kicked off with New Japan Cup action. First round matchup between Togi Makabe and Yota Tsuji.
So I'll keep this brief. I start going to a long diatribe the first time we recorded this about Yota Tsuji, but at the end of last year, some of the earlier praises we had kind of vaulted on Tsuji, we started kind of step back on those because after seeing him in the Young Lions Cup and things of that nature, he just didn't seem to be progressing at the rate he had been previously, and maybe even was falling back. Like he seemed better months prior to that, and we weren't really sure what the case was. Maybe like for his non-progression, but things just didn't seem to be on the uptick for him. And then after COVID happens, we come back, and this guy, he looks incredible. It's like he decided to just buy a bunch of elk from Joe Rogan or something, and he's just been eating that nonstop because he's a beefy boy, man. I mean, he is huge, and he worked on his tan, so he's getting that vitamin D, trying to fight off the COVID-19. But man, he just looked fantastic. Not only that, he worked fantastic. It was like Suji from a year ago, but times like 3. This is the best that I've seen him look since his debut. And it was very, very encouraging. And also it helps a lot that Makabe was energized, motivated, and he took 5 bumps in this match, Jeremy.
Wow, that's like above
5 bumps.
That's above the quota. But yeah,
what were your thoughts on this match, man?
I absolutely agree with you on your comments on Yota Tsuji. Tsuji looked great. He looked great in that Gabriel Kidd match on the Together Project show, and he looked great here against Makabe. I mean, right from the opening bell, he speared Makabe, and he was fired. Yeah. He was fired up the whole match. He was like on 10 from the bell, and selling was great. Just his in-ring movements, everything that Tsuji did was just, I was loving it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Obviously, I think these both of these competitors kind of knew what was at stake. It's the first match of a very important tournament. Given world events and where we're sort of at, they sort of had to set a certain sort of tone. Opener of a big show. So, I mean, they had a lot riding on it. And, there were moments in this match. Makabe looked great. Tsuji looked great, but there were moments where they really teased the idea that Tsuji might be able to beat Makabe. Mm-hmm. Now, I think from a rankings perspective, you talk about the 3 different young lions. It's not completely unimaginable that Tsuji might have been able to upset Makabe. Makabe is a little older. Tsuji's a big, strong, huge, young lion who's also put on weight. And also he's coming off a big win the night before, like you mentioned, with Gabriel Kidd. So it seemed possible, but even with that all still being the case, I mean, Makabe is still a very loved and revered character, not just in New Japan, but also in pop culture. The kayfabe he's still protected and still, booked strong, even in comparison to some of those New Japan dads who, are similar as far as working ability at this point. But, I thought these guys went out there. They didn't overstay their welcome. 8 minutes. It was hard hitting. It was pretty well paced for considering who was involved in it. And it actually made me excited for the potential of Makabe and, the guy that he's going to be facing in the next round. Just because Makabe looked really good here. And I'm sure the 3 months helped him as well as everyone else involved with this.
Yeah, he looked great. He hit one of the best power slams that he's hit in a long time. And like you said, yeah, he was, doing some bumps, and he just looked really good in there. Powering out of the Boston Crab that Tsuji had him in was a cool spot there. And giving Tsuji some action here and getting some near falls for Tsuji. Yeah, like you said, 8 minutes, really fun opening match, a great way to kick off the tournament. Makabe ends up getting the win with a German suplex with a bridge. 1, 2, 3. Makabe wins.
Where would you have gone, say, star ratings with this one? And, what were your expectations? Did this meet it or exceed it? Did it underperform?
So I think it hit my expectations. Trying to pull up my star ratings here. Pretty sure I went like 3 1/4. I went 3 stars flat on this match. And again, 8-minute match with Young Lion. I think 3 stars is a good rating for that, and had a ton of energy, and it was a great way to kick off the show.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair rating, and I'd give that a easy recommendation. Yeah.
So the next match, I cannot give a recommendation for this match. I don't know how you feel about this. So the next matchup we had Toru Yano versus Jado.
How long did that match go?
9 minutes and 7 seconds.
I gotta tell you, I hold Yano matches to an entirely different kind of standard than the remainder of New Japan, matches. And with that being said, I didn't expect anything other than comedy tomfoolery, and that's pretty much what we got here. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that this was a classic or highly recommended, but as far as my personal enjoyment, I don't think it was near as egregious as everyone said it was. Now, I could understand why some people would say it was. Jado was a mess in the ring. He looked terrible. Most of the heat from this match came from an interfering Yujiro.
Yeah.
But the comedy, for me, really landed, and I found this to be pretty humorous, honestly.
Yeah, Yano was not the problem for me. And, on this show, we don't really hate on Yano. I like Yano. He has a role in the promotion, and I like Yano. But the problem here in this match was Jado. And just barely able to move, and just, I don't know, man. It was rough. And like you mentioned, all the bumps in this match was taken by Yujiro for him for the most part, and there was somebody else out there with him as well. Gato was out there also. Yeah, and both just constant interfering and distracting the ref, and they redid the spot with the turnbuckle and the kendo stick from the previous match on the Together show, and yeah, I would have liked this if this match was 2 minutes flat.
I mean, I'll say this: I miss the days when the premier junior tag team in Bullet Club was the Young Bucks, not Gato and Jado.
Yeah,
it's not the same. They're kind of different.
Yeah, really different.
No, man. I mean, what can I say? Is this maybe the worst New Japan match of the year so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. It probably is. But I don't know. Jado, Yano getting in the ring and chanting to the crowd, and then Gato or Jado saying there's no crowd, you idiot.
Yeah.
And then
no, well, at first he was playing to the crowd too, because Yano was Tora Yanu, and then he was no, Jado.
I saw someone kind of translate what was said, and it was something along the lines of Yano was doing it, Jado was making fun of him for it, and Yano was if it doesn't work, then why don't you try it? So then Jado tried it, and Yano's there's no people here, you idiot. That whole thing was pretty funny to me.
Yeah.
At the same time, you've got an overbooked, convoluted mess. I don't know, I'm not going to tell you to go out of your way and watch it, but it was short. It was non-egregious. I mean, it's a Yano match in a tournament, and it's kind of what I expected out of him and Jado. So I really couldn't be too upset about it, honestly. I mean, I'm sure I've seen worse. Here's one thing I'll say: it wasn't boring.
It was not boring, but I don't know. I think it extended its stay. It should have been a few minutes shorter.
It could have been, yeah. But think about here's the last argument I'll make for it. Think about how many awful, really long, really boring Bad Luck Fale matches we've ever seen. This was not that. This was a bunch of shenanigans, a bunch of run-ins, a bunch of comedy spots. I liked when they were fighting with the kendo stick and the turnbuckle pad. The referee was just kind of all over the place. It was like a comedy match. So I mean, it was whatever. I didn't love it. Ultimately, Yano picks up the win, gets the roll up, and we move on. It's fine.
Yeah, I gave it a smooth half star.
That's fine. I mean, it's one of those things. I feel like they told the story they wanted to tell. They had a lot of limitations going against them. I'm not going to rag on Yano and Jado for not having a classic in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting a classic, but I don't know.
No, I've seen people be a lot more harsh than you. Be miss me with this shit. This is the worst fuck. And I'm come on, dude. What do you guys think? Just don't watch it then. You know what it is.
Right. Yeah, I guess I never want to see Jado wrestle ever again.
No, and it's unfortunate because I think it's really mostly down to injuries. Like,
Right.
A few years ago he was in fantastic shape, so I'm not totally sure what happened.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next match, we had a multi-man tag action here. 8-man tag with Suzuki-gun, Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Zack Sabre Jr. They defeat the team of Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi, Yuji Nagata, and Yuya Uemura. So clearly this was a preview match for night 3, where a lot of these guys will be facing each other.
I am sort of treating these preview matches sort of like my intermissions. Like, they're not really that paid attention to be honest with you. I mean, I am watching them. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not flipping on the phone, but I'm just kind of going into autopilot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But this match was good. I mean, the interactions between, Golden Aces and Dangerous Tekkers seem to be kind of what I remember the most out of the matches, just in general.
Yeah, definitely that. Also, the interactions with Suzuki and Nagata were good. And this came down to the end where Kanemaru, he hits Uemura with a whiskey bottle. Then Suzuki hits a gotch on Uemura, gets the win. Then after the match, you got Suzuki and Nagata having a pull-apart brawl. Ibushi and Sabre talking trash to each other. Taichi and Sabre done double-teaming on Ibushi and posing with the tag team titles.
One thing a couple things that are interesting. So Uemura getting hit with the whiskey bottle by Kanemaru. Obviously, they would be fighting the next evening. That plays heavily into the match that they would wind up having. So when I said that these matches don't matter, I was kind of lying. Jeremy so eloquently pointed out that like there are little breadcrumbs, and that's one of them. Him getting hit with the bottle was a huge story element leading into the next match and kind of helped with my enjoyment of it. The other thing, too, is I want to make mention of this. It is unfortunate that Doki's on this tour, but they put Jado in that match instead.
Yeah, Doki, the one guy on this tour that's not in the tournament. And, we've ragged on Doki and kind of, buried him. But he's definitely a better worker than Jado. He could definitely put out better work and would have been a great little guy to have in this tournament to eat a loss.
I think at this point I like Doki better than you do. I think I've always been like just ever so slightly a little higher on him than you have been.
Yeah. He's slowly starting to win me over just a little bit. I'm not ready to jump on the Doki bandwagon yet and, rock my Doki mask when I'm going to the grocery store. But I'm slowly getting there. I'm slowly seeing the sleaze appeal of Mr. Doki, and I definitely.
For me, it's not a bandwagon. It's like one of those radio flyer wagons, like the little red ones you carry when you're like a little kid. Yeah. I'm on one of those with my shitty bent pole. What does he carry? I don't know what that thing is he carries around. It's horrible looking. But yeah, no, I mean, Doki's fine. I mean, I just can't imagine any world where you put Jado into a tournament over Doki in 2020. Like, that makes no sense, but
favoritism.
Yeah, anyways. Huh?
That's favoritism. Gato putting his boy in the tournament, trying to give him some shine, give him a rub.
Yeah, it's somethingism. I don't know. But any final thoughts on this match?
Good little preview tag match, like we mentioned. Little breadcrumbs there, setting up the Kanemaru and Uemura.
Post match, you had Tanahashi and Zack Sabre, or I'm sorry, Taichi kind of going at one another and like pointing out like each other's weight and things of that nature.
Was that on this show or was that on the Together Project show?
Oh, was that night one? See, yeah, these two matches are kind of running into each other for me. Yeah, Never mind.
They were very similar, but yeah. So yeah, I think that's on that match. So then we had intermission, clean the ring, and back to action. We had another tournament matchup here. We had Hiromu Takahashi and Tomioka Hanma. And I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this match, but I love this match. I enjoyed this match so much.
I don't know how there could possibly be a mixed review about this match. This match freaking ruled. I mean, really, really ruled. So much so, people are going to think I'm crazy for this, but I really don't care. I like the first part of this match, like the first 2/3 of this match, I enjoyed more than the first 2/3 of the main event on this night. I ended up thinking that the main event peaked much higher, but this started hotter and was just so unexpectedly great. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought in 2020 that Hanma and Hiromu Takahashi would be putting on like a low-key banger? Now, I don't want to like oversell this. It wasn't like a 5-star classic, but man, this was really great.
Yeah, this was the first time in a long time that we got anything kind of close to what Hanma used to be before the injury. Before the injury, Hanma was this plucky underdog that everybody was behind. Everybody wanted to see Hanma win, and he would have these fantastic 5-star matches with guys like Ishii and a lot of these different guys, and just have these great matchups. And he would always lose, but he'd always put on a great performance. And then he had the neck injury, and it just wasn't the same. But this was the closest thing that we've got since he's returned from injury, and just fighting from underneath. And, a lot of people are kind of questioning, are they going to do the Hanma formula here? Because he's facing a junior in Hiromu. But yes, they went with the Hanma formula. Hiromu works over the injured neck throughout the whole match, and Hanma has to fight from underneath and come back and fight from behind and try to rally and pull out a win here. And it was just a great story. And you got some of that Hanma fire, that Hanma mania fire that you're used to seeing.
Yeah, there were some very surprising and exciting spots here in this match. Hiromu Takahashi delivered a Death Valley driver on the apron.
Oh my gosh, I freaking screamed when that happened.
That was really nuts. There was a moment where they're on the outside, and Hiromu literally ran the entire circumference of the outside of the ring until he returned. Like, he literally ran from one point, got all the way around the ring, and when he came all the way back around, he John Woo drop kicked Hanma into the steel guardrail, and the back of his neck. Like, I don't think it really hit, but it might have, but it looked like, he kicked him right into the guardrail. You had Hanma doing Kokeshis, from the middle rope. I think he tried a top rope one.
Mm-hmm. We had Hiromu's Kokeshi, his little dance that he did before his. That was hilarious.
There was a scary dive to the outside, right? That Hiromu did. I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been a senton or something of that nature.
Yeah. I think he did an apron senton, I think.
That sounds right. I don't have all the notes in front of me, but I mean, a lot of these moves. Now, keep in mind, I do think we have to give a lot of credit to Hiromu. I think he really carried Hanma to a really great match. He did have to slow down his pace, obviously. But at the same time, Hanma really increased his pace. And we've talked about how like the 3 months has been beneficial to a lot of people. I think Hanma in many ways looked good as far as his health. This might be the best he's looked, since he returned. Not just from a work standpoint, but also from a health-wise standpoint. This is just really surprising. And I think Hanma kind of knew the gravity of the situation, that they're putting him in there with a guy that they have a lot invested into, that they see a lot of hope for the future with, and it's his first New Japan Cup, and he's a junior, and he's going over on a heavyweight. And I don't think that significance or importance was kind of lost on Hanma, and he might not be able to do everything that he did on that night every night, but for one night he was able to kind of reverse the clock just a smidge and put on a really, really, really great performance. And because he's a heavyweight, there was times where he hit that Kokeshi, and I was like, oh man, no, are they really going to do this?
Yeah, there was a sequence starting at the 15-minute mark where they're trading strikes, and then Hanma starts hitting a series of chops, and he tries the Kokeshi, but he missed. And then Hiromu went for the dynamite plunger, but then Hanma blocks that. He hits a diving Kokeshi, then a standard Kokeshi, and another diving Kokeshi, and then rolled up Hiromu for a really great near fall.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like Hiromu getting a win over him is kind of important because A, it is a heavyweight, but B, it's sort of a good introduction. Like he can say, I beat a heavyweight, but then there's that asterisk next to it that, well, it's a surgically repaired and aged Hanma. It's not, this is not Kazuchika Okada necessarily. So it kind of gives both of them an out as far as the outcome of the match. But all that being said, the match, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just really memorable, and I was so happy. This is like the first really, really great empty arena match I'd seen from New Japan, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think going forward, I'm going to be looking – I always look forward to Hiromu's matches, but his antics and creativity in an empty environment like this is something that's kind of unique to the rest of the roster. I wonder what other ideas he has going forward. I'm almost a little scared of them too.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody to keep your eyes on, especially when he's going to wrestle somebody that's a little bit more physically able than Hanma. But yeah, really love this thing. Definitely recommend it. Dave gave it 3.5 on Cage Matches at a 6.75. Personally, I gave it 3.75. It was just a smidge away from getting to that 4-star mark for me. But yeah, really great matchup here.
Yeah, I didn't think this was very far off from a 4-star affair. I think what did Dave give it? 3.25?
3.5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't always agree with Dave. I see why he did that, but yeah, I would go 3.25. If someone told me that they were going 4, I really wouldn't fight with them.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't wholly agree, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't fight you on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely in that range, 3.75, 4-star range. Definitely a recommended match to watch. And this is the match I was talking about earlier, where somebody in the chat was like, "I watched this with English commentary, and I wasn't as high as you guys." So maybe the Japanese commentary enhanced it too, but I would definitely watch it with a Japanese commentary.
There's that. There's also the fact that I think also a lot of newer fans don't have any emotional attachment to Hanma, Mm-hmm. And that also is something that really plays into the story. I don't think your average fan would turn on New Japan World, watch that match, and really be that impressed. But when you kind of have some context to the character of Tomoaki Hanma and the real world struggles he's gone through, and then kind of put it in context, it's a great story. It's a great match.
Yeah. So moving on to the main event of night 1, we had here Tomohiro Ishii and El Desperado. Ishii's debut in the junior division.
And you know what? To be honest, it's not his debut. He was a junior.
I know. I was just
Oh, I had to break out that. Well, actually,
yes. I know that Ishii was a junior before he elevated to the heavyweight ranks, but I'm talking about.
What you need to know is this man's still a junior. He's always been a junior. He never stopped being a junior, sir.
But yeah, so Stone Pitbull and Despy, what do you think about this matchup here?
Of all the matches in this tournament, this is one that I'm high on. I don't think my rating is very far off from what most people's ratings are, and yet I'm not as high on it as everybody else was. Like the way people talk about it makes me feel like I missed something. I really, really enjoyed the match. I thought it was really great, but I just think I'm a little lower on it than everybody else. It wasn't really until the close of the match that I truly got invested, whereas I think a lot of other people were just like captivated right from the jump with this match.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I really enjoyed this match from beginning to end, and there's just so much I loved about this match. And one of the things here, you have Ishii. I just thought his selling was excellent throughout this whole match. Desperado was working over the knee, obviously trying to set up for his stretch muffler submission hold, and he would work over the knee the whole match. And I just thought Ishii's selling of the knee was so great, and there was a spot where he attempted the powerbomb, but they slipped, and he immediately went to grab the knee and sold his knee for the fact that he couldn't get the powerbomb and then had to fight back into it. And there was just so many spots where he gave Desperado a lot and just made Desperado look like a threat and that Desperado could win. Especially the spot where Desperado finally gets the numero dos stretch muffler hold locked in, fully locked in, and it was just so close. You thought there could have been a ref stoppage or Ishii was going to tap out.
Yeah, that was definitely scary. Desperado is one of these guys where here on Keeping It Strong Style, we've been talking since 2018, the end of 2017, about how improved he's been as a wrestler, and that people really shouldn't sleep on him. And we're kind of seeing more people wake up and become woke to that idea that Despy is a great worker, and this was really evidence to that case. I loved how he came in complete, and hats off to the guy because he wears a mask. I know sometimes the mouth is cut out, but for the most part, it is really hard to convey the type of emotion that he is able to communicate. That's like some masterclass sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was able to kind of just with his body language and everything show what a cocky prick he was, and was really just arrogant and belittling to Ishii. Kept telling him that he was taller than Ishii.
Yeah.
And then when they started the match off, he slapped the Stone Pitbull right on the top of the head. And I think from there, anyone knows about the aura of Tomohiro Ishii. You don't do that. You don't slap this man on the head. And that was the jumping off point. From that point, like, Ishii had a chip on his shoulder, and I think those mind games really played a big part of the story. And like Ishii chopping him in the throat, asking him to hit him. Ishii no-selling a lot of his offense. He's like, you might be taller than me, but you're gonna get these hands, you're gonna get these elbows, you're gonna get these headbutts.
I'm coming to smash.
Yeah, I'm gonna smash. Like, and he hit him with a pounce, and it's like the littlest, most effective pounce you've ever seen. Like, it's incredible.
But there's so much I loved about this matchup here, and after
the leg work.
Yes, dude, the leg work on Ishii, and then Ishii's selling of the leg work was just excellent all throughout the matchup here. And this match and the Hiromu match just made me really happy that New Japan decided to throw juniors in the tournament. Instead of trying to make the tournament smaller, they could have easily made it smaller and made it just heavyweights, but I'm glad they had the juniors in here, and we're getting these, competitive open weight matches, and I love this match. I went 4 1/4 on this thing.
I'm a little less than you. I'm 4, but I will say this, and this is going to be surprising, I think, for a lot of people to hear this. Of the 3 nights we're reviewing, this is my favorite night.
Night 1 overall is your favorite night?
For an overall flow of a show, you've got a really good opener, a fun short comedy match, and then 2 really great matches that really over-delivered, and also, for me, acted as what I believe are going to be preview matches for the quarterfinals of that region of the block, which has really excited me. So, absolutely, I love this night. I think it's the best quality top to bottom as far as consistency, and I enjoyed it the most.
Yeah, I hadn't really given a lot of thought to which night I enjoyed the most, but I did enjoy this match, this night a lot, and especially with the semi-main and main, just really made it a home run show here.
I think they over-delivered because I think there's other shows on paper that I expected more from, and this one I wasn't expecting as much, to be honest with you. I thought it would be good, but I was like, we got one really good match at the top, and then some other stuff that, there's a lot of things you could have said. Makabe's older. He doesn't like to bump. Suji was kind of looking not as good, last time we saw him. I mean, bro, Yano and Jado. And then you've got Hanma mixing up with Hiromu, and who knows what that looks like. And Hanma, repaired neck. Hiromu repaired neck. I mean, this really had the recipe for potentially not being that good. And these guys delivered in droves. Like, this way, way, way exceeded my expectations. I thought it was a really great night.
Yeah. And on that main event, Uncle Dave also went 4 1/4. Cage match has it at 7.84. So definitely a recommended match. If you've not watched this one, you definitely got to check out this main event from night 1 with Ishii and Desperado. So you ready to move on to night 2?
I stay ready.
All right, so night 2 we kicked off with a tournament matchup with Taiji Ishimori, the Bone Soldier, or I think we should call him Shredder from now on with his new entrance gear. He defeated Young Lion Gabriel Kidd, 8 minutes 53 seconds.
Gabriel Kidd coming in, people talking about American Dragon, vibes. He gives me very strong Kyle O'Reilly vibes. I mean, but that's some great company to kind of be mentioning if you're talking about those two guys. This match was good, man. Really, really, really good. I think of the young lions in the pecking order, it's no secret that Gabriel Kidd is the lowest on that totem pole. I think he was not given quite as much offense as, say, Tsuji or Yumura. But with that being the case, they told a great story here, and it was interesting, the dynamics, because even though Gabriel Kidd is a young lion, he had a size and strength advantage over, former IWGP, junior heavyweight champion Taiji Ishimori. But Ishimori, using his heel work, his cunning tactics, his speed, his elusiveness, this was kind of a cat and mouse chase here. And I thought the match was just really, it was a great opener, another really good opener back-to-back nights. Yeah,
I agree. It was another great, good opener here. And I agree with both you and Rich. I know Rich says he sees American Dragon. You've been pointing Kyle O'Reilly. I kind of see both of that in him, and he has a lot of fire, and some of the arm work that he was doing here towards the beginning of the match and trying to really break down Ishimori's arm kind of reminded me of some Kyle O'Reilly kind of armbar manipulation there. And yeah, he was working really hard and trying to take out the veteran here, but just got overwhelmed by Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah, Ishimori's just got too much experience, and he's just too talented to lose to a young lion like that. But I found the match to be really entertaining. I mean, how long did they go? 7 minutes, 8 minutes?
Yeah, 8 minutes, 53 seconds.
Yeah, so I mean, really short opener. Good experience for Gabriel Kidd, and it sets the table for Ishimori's next step in this tournament. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, so Ishimori, he got the win here with the yes lock, got the submission victory over Gabriel Kidd.
Yeah, and there was a good story too, just to speak to that with the arm work from both guys. So it was sort of like a dueling limb work situation. I think both of them were kind of looking for an arm submission. Obviously, Ishimori, working the patented yes lock, the label lock as his finish, was the one who was able to kind of more strategically implement his plan ultimately.
Yeah. And I went 3 stars flat again on this opener here.
Yeah, again, 3 stars, 8-9 minutes. That's a good match.
Yeah. Moving on to the next matchup here, we had Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeating Yuya Uemura, 9 minutes and 32 seconds. Thought this was another good matchup here. They had a hot start, a great series of near falls at the end here. Really kind of interesting start here, having Uemura attack Kanemaru before the opening bell and being really fired up. Kind of saw something similar with the Tsuji Makabe match where Tsuji is coming in with all this fire. Well, here you have Uemura coming in. He got bashed over the head with the bottle the night before, so he's coming in fired up, and he really wanted to take it to Kanemaru.
Yeah, he wanted his comeuppance from the attack from Kanemaru the night previous. Kind of reminds me of like Brian Pillman, when Brian Pillman used to be a fired up babyface back in early 90s WCW. I like that aspect. I saw someone tweet the other day. I think it was either Desperado or maybe it was Bushi. But they just tweeted. They said in Japanese, they said, Uemura looks like Sonata. That's all they said. And now that they've said that, bro, I cannot unsee it. He absolutely looks like Sonata in the face.
Dude, I did not see that tweet, but now that you say it and I'm picturing Uemura's face, I'm like picturing Sonata's face.
I saw this on the Reddit, and the person who's posting is like, finally someone said it. and all the tweet says is, Uemura looks like Sonata. Oh man, but bro, speaking of beefy boys, what happened to Uemura? He is freaking thick, bro. He's ripped. He's huge,
vascular. Yeah, man.
Bro.
He's on that Aaron Nova gas plan, man. He's
ooh, yeah, Uemura, you on the gas, brother? Like, bro. He's on that gas, dude.
Yes, Dale Gas. This man is jacked, man. Jacked to the gills. He was gigantic, man.
Yeah. As much praise as we gave to the other young lions, I think Yumura, right now, at least in Japan, he's top of the class. He is the guy. He's truly like a really great hybrid wrestler. He's stringing together high flying moves, fundamentals, great mat grappling. He's got incredible timing, really good facials, and he can go, man. He can really, really go in there. And with Kanemaru is a great wrestler. You know, he had that incredible run back in Noah. He's had championship opportunities here in New Japan, but his best days are behind him, and I often don't find him to be the most compelling wrestler for my own personal taste. And when you tell me he's going to be in a singles match against a young lion, that's a throwaway for me. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, like, all right, whatever. Like, but this was the best of the three young lion matches, in my opinion, and a really great match on this evening. And these guys did awesome work. Kanemaru, when he got control, his heat segment was really interesting and it didn't overstay its welcome. And a lot of that has to do with Yumura's selling. His selling is just really good. He's good at getting sympathy, even though there's no crowd. The match told an awesome story. Like, I was really impressed.
Yeah, and Yumura, I love his double underhook belly to belly suplex that he hits. He used that here in this match. He got a good near fall over Kanemaru.
What are your thoughts on that? Because it's so similar to what Red Narita was doing before he left for excursion to the other dojo.
Yeah, it's a similar overhead suplex, but I know I'm a mark for suplexes, especially overhead ones like that. So I love it a lot, and I think it's a kind of a good move for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Obviously, suplex mark here as well, but at the same time, I'm just wondering if he needs to kind of diversify, or it doesn't matter. Narita's out of the territory, so he can use the move.
Yeah, Narita, took his ball and went to L.A. So Yumura's taking up the mantle. And once again, in this match, we saw the whiskey bottle come back into play as Kanemaru, got the ref in the way and then tried to hit the whiskey bottle, but Yumura rolled him up for a near fall there. There was a lot of great cradles here that Yumura did. There was like 3 cradles for near falls that they had me. I thought Yumura was going to pull the upset up here.
I wasn't expecting it, but I would have been surprised. But in those moments, I wasn't. I'm not gonna say I almost bit because it wasn't quite there, but I was like, they could go that way. I mean, that would be something, But I wasn't too surprised to say that.
And after that, Kanemaru hits the inverted DDT for a near fall, and which was kind of a big thing here for Yumura, because that inverted DDT, we've seen him put away other young lions with that in the past.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
I've said it on the show before, I mistake a lot of these guys' finishers, especially if they're mid-card guys. I know I should know them all, but I just don't. And I was like, oh my God, he just hit him with the deep impact and Yumura kicked out. That is huge. It is not the deep impact.
No, yeah, it's a secondary.
It's not at all. But I literally was like watching this with my girlfriend. And I was like, he literally just landed the deep impact and Yumura kicked out. I don't know what this means. What's this mean for Yumura? And I'm like, I start like fantasy booking in my head what him kicking out of his finisher means.
Well, it was a secondary finisher, so still good.
But in my mind, it was the finisher. I was like, oh, this is a big deal.
It's a Scorpion Death Drop. I mean, he kicked out a Stinger's finish here.
You know how devastating a real Scorpion Death Drop would be if you drop someone on the back of their dome like that. That's like instant death.
So after that, Kanemaru goes up to the second rope, hits the deep impact that jumping DDT does, gets the win, pours whiskey all over Yumura after the match.
Yep. And away we go. I thought it was good. I probably go like 3.5 on that one. It was really good.
I ended up going 3 stars flat on that one also. Again, it was in that 9-minute time frame. Solid matchup here, but I don't know. This wasn't enough for me to go higher than that.
Okay.
Moving on to the next matchup here, we had another 8-man tag.
I do just want to point out, good friend of the show, Zach Porter, said he liked that match better than
The Hiromu match.
I think he said he liked it better than Hiromu and Hanma.
That's a take.
I just want to throw that out there in the ethos. What's up, Zach? I know you're listening.
Shout out to Zach. So moving on to the next matchup here, we had 8-man tag action. The team of Chaos, Hiroki Goto, Sho, Yo, and Yoshihashi defeating the team of Los Ingobernables de Japón, Bushi, Evil, Sanada, and Shingo Takagi.
Yeah, a little surprising, but not necessarily if you're following the inner workings of LIJ. You know, it's pretty. I don't. We don't have Chris Samson on the line, but I would just imagine, based off of my viewing, that it feels like LIJ usually wins these multi-man matches a good portion of the time, and you know, they took the loss here. It's not like they don't take losses, but it makes sense given the fact that they all kind of are against each other in this tournament, you know, and it just really feels like they're a faction divided, especially given the fact that the champion is their faction leader and they're all kind of aiming to go after him.
Yeah, a lot of interesting storytelling that we're getting here with all LIJ members being in this tournament and seeing guys not want to do the roll call, fist bump, and just them losing. A lot of times they win their multi-man matches and they're such a in sync unit and they flow so well together. But now we're starting to see some miscommunications and they're losing, and Shingo's not putting his fist in, and there's a lot of different stories that they're emulating here that's coming out of here with these LIJ matches.
Yeah, man. With that being said, I think Chaos and LIJ in particular happen to have the best multi-man matches against one another. We've seen it a million times, but they're always good, and this was, once again, very good. And it gave us a preview of a lot of the, matchups between these guys that would be coming up on the next few nights. So, yeah.
Yep, Hiroki Goto gets the win here with the Ushigoroshi and GTR on Bushi. Chaos gets the win.
I do wonder if Bushi is taking a pinfall against Yo or not. Still remains to be seen.
Yeah. So then we had another Way to the Grandmaster hype video that played before intermission. Dude,
okay. We've talked about who we think it is and everything of that nature, but since we've been doing this show, how many people have they ever done this for? Like 3, 4?
It's been a handful of people, yeah.
You got Jon Moxley with those Death Rider vignettes.
Phantasmo.
You got the Phantasmo ones.
Kaiji.
The Bone Soldier's coming. I know that they've done some for Jericho, I suppose.
There was the Hiromu, the Time Bomb's coming.
The Time Bomb's coming, and then you got Jay White when Jay White originally came in as Switchblade, and I think that's like it. In recent memory that I can think of.
Yeah, those are the ones that come to my mind.
So this feels like a pretty big deal. I mean, you look at the names we just listed; those are all Impact players, guys that came in and really made a difference, and the company got behind them quite a bit. What does this mean? What is it going to be? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Kawato, just like we all kind of think it is. We could be wrong. I mean, no one saw Jon Moxley coming, and I don't know. I don't want to stir up speculation, but there's been a lot of releases, a lot of shakeups in the wrestling industry. So who knows? But Kawato seems to be the one. But I guess the one thing I'm just wondering is, like, what are the plans for this guy? Because it seems to be a pretty big deal. And then what the fuck is this gimmick? Because
I've been questioning myself too. Every time I see the video, I'm like, is he gonna be like a Shaolin monk, or like is he the Avatar? Like, what's going on here?
Bro, he's the last Airbender, bro. He's the one that the prophecies foretold. Like he's that one. Like, I don't know.
Does that make Suzuki the Fire Lord?
I didn't watch Avatar. I just know one terminology, the last Airbender. That's it.
It's on Netflix, bro. You need to go watch it immediately.
I don't have time, Jeremy, to watch a new anime show.
Oh man, disappointing.
I started watching Ashita Nojo the other day, and like I got like 5 episodes in. Like I just can't do it. I don't got time in my life.
But you're a busy man. You got a lot
Bro,
going on.
Avatar like ran for a long time, right?
There's like 30 seasons, I think.
Only 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Naruto is the one I'm thinking of that went really long, right?
Yeah. I think they're still making Naruto episodes.
God. Okay. I saw One Piece came to Netflix, but I was like, is that the real One Piece? Like, there's only like 3 seasons.
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check and see.
I hear this. Well, you know, that's Minoru Suzuki's favorite anime.
Yeah. Yeah, so. A lot of people like the One Piece.
Yeah.
But speaking of Minoru Suzuki, that's the next matchup we're going to talk about here. Minoru Suzuki versus Yuji Nagata.
I just want to say this one thing before we move on. The gimmick, whatever it may be, it probably ultimately doesn't really matter because it's New Japan Pro Wrestling, and the gimmicks are honestly very secondary. What really matters is how is this guy in the ring? What's his charisma going to be like? Can he get over?
Can he work?
Well, not can he work, because Yoshihashi can work, and it doesn't matter. That is not the question. That's why I threw in charisma.
Can he work? Can
he get over? Because Yoshihashi can work, but he cannot get over.
Right. So moving on to this next matchup here, Yuji Nagata and Minoru Suzuki. 20 minutes of pure excellence. We had a question here from Reddit user Rambone Slam Pigs that would love to hear your thoughts on the Suzuki versus Nagata match. That match scratched an itch I've been waiting for months to satisfy. Were you surprised by how much gas seems to be left in both of their tanks?
Man, Rainbow and Slam Pig had an itch that needed to be scratched and hadn't been scratched in months. And then the match that scratched it happened to be one of the most violent matches of the entire year. That man is a sadomasochist. Oh, my God. Listen, man. Murder Grandpa versus Justice Grandpa. This was incredible.
Yeah.
I think for sure right now, as of this moment, this is the strong style fight of the year. Even more so than Ryuli and Hiromu from New Beginning. This is the most violent match in New Japan Pro Wrestling this year. Just breathtaking, the sheer levels of brutality. I absolutely love this match. I love this match a lot more, I think, than most people, just because I don't want to be a coward and give it the wrong rating. Like everyone kind of is like going lower than me, and I'm like starting to go towards 4.5. But when I first saw it, I was like, this is nearly a perfect match. I don't see why I shouldn't go almost 5 stars.
Hey,
it's that.
Dude, go with your heart, man. It's your star rating, bro. If you want to drop the 5 on it, you want to throw the 5 fingers up, you go for it, bro.
I got 5 on it.
So if you got 5 on it, man.
I'm not 5 on it, but here's the thing. I'll say this. As far as a perfectly worked and executed story, I took no notes, and I could tell you almost frame for frame exactly what happened in that match. And it's, I know some people kind of called it lazy because these guys were just hitting each other. Let me tell you, bro, that hurts so freaking bad. This was sheerly brutal. Like, both of their chests were purple. They were both rattled. They went through extreme levels of physical brutality to entertain us in an empty arena. Just incredible. I mean, Jeremy, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, so we've seen 2 formulas work with empty arena matches that make them really great. The great empty arena matches, we've seen 2 formulas. Formula 1, the match is really short. Formula 2, the match is really hard-hitting. Well, Suzuki and Nagata went with Formula 2 here. They went with a really hard-hitting matchup, and it was great. These 2 old bastards were literally just beating the crap out of each other. The first 5 minutes of the match was literally those 2 guys just striking each other between forearms, elbows, and chops. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah, I think the lack of crowd affected this match more so than any other match that we've reviewed. And what I mean by that is this. When you watch UFC or even boxing right now in this COVID era where there's no fans in attendance, it kind of creates a unique presentation in the sense that, like, you can hear the cornermen, you can hear the people breathing, you can hear the shuffling of the feet, and, you know, anytime they hit each other or make contact, you hear that. And so it's a lot more visceral. And so it's kind of, you would think maybe it would be boring to watch fighting in an empty arena the same way that, say, like watching baseball is utterly horrible when there's no audience or there's no fans. But it's, you know, it's not. It's really great. And that's what this match was like. The lack of crowd in many ways enhanced the presentation because of how violent it was. And it was kind of twofold. Like, yes, had there been an audience, would they have been going crazy for what they were seeing? Absolutely. Yeah. And could that might have affected the match in ways that we don't really know. Maybe it would have even raised it higher and elevated it. I don't really know. It seems like that's a good likelihood, you know, because having a great crowd always helps a match, obviously. But there are things that would have definitely done that, would have hindered what we got. We wouldn't have been able to hear and feel the visceral experience that we got from this empty arena match. And so this was very unique in the sense that they kind of maximize the positives that are afforded to you when you have an empty arena like this. And because of that, seeing them hit each other that hard really drew me in. And they just kept going with the forearms and going and going and going and going. And this is a real man's match, man. I mean, it was so violent. And then Suzuki's heat segment, you know, on the outside and the submission work and Nagata trying to survive and everyone thinking that Nagata was absolutely going to lose here. And him kind of persevering through all that. And then at the end of it all, after all the violence, 20 minutes, he just kind of catches Suzuki and hits him with that, you know, what is it, the side explorer suplex?
The backdrop hold.
Yeah, the backdrop hold, and he puts him away for the 1, 2, 3. It was just awesome. And not only that, Suzuki's facials, both of these guys' facials, but Suzuki being this maniacal savage who takes shots and bumbles and then laughs about it, but is clearly in pain. Like, this is a masterpiece, literally. And these guys have wrestled in the main event of 2 Wrestle Kingdoms. They've wrestled on many, many major cards. I think it's like the 11th or 12th singles match. I'm telling you right now, this is absolutely the greatest singles match between these two guys ever, including Wrestle Kingdom 1, including Wrestle Kingdom 5.
Yeah, and I think the best thing about that in that comment is, you know, a lot of times when you kind of get old rivals like Suzuki and Nagata who have wrestled several times on big stages and they're in their later stage of their careers and they're having a singles match, they kind of come out and just kind of play the hits and, you know, it's not quite as crisp or what it used to be, and you just, you know, it's kind of a nostalgic kind of match. But this match felt like a continuation of that long-stemming rivalry. They weren't just playing the hits. This was another chapter in that rivalry. They were still going full go, and this was, like you mentioned, possibly one of the best out of their whole series. And you don't see that all the time with old rivals like this.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just the fact that it did feel like a continuation of the series or like a new chapter, and it's very clear that both of these guys are at the tail end of their careers. You know, they've got less days in front of them than behind them, but they didn't wrestle like that on this night at all. I think it's going to be really hard for anything to top them for match of the month, honestly. I think it probably will be the fight of the year. I maybe not. And I guess the reason I just loved it so much was the story they told, but just also like how perfectly laid out. There's a lot of matches you could ask me, was it good? I'll tell you, yeah. And you tell me what was it about, and I wouldn't be able to tell you. But in this match, I could tell you all the acts that were there. It was very easy to follow, and I was enthralled the whole time. I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and I couldn't believe it what I saw unfolding. There are plenty of years, maybe not in so recent, but there are plenty of years in the history of New Japan this would have been the match of the year.
Yeah, man, this thing was incredible. And like you mentioned the finish earlier, so, Suzuki, he's going for that misdirection, rear naked choke that he normally does. And the guy just caught him, popped the hips, hit that backdrop suplex hold, 1, 2, 3 out of nowhere, and defeats Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, and I think you almost have a fear here that I'm about to take a victory lap, because I did, in fact, predict the winner of this match accurately last week, when I think a lot of people didn't think that was a likelihood.
Yeah, Blue Justice was out here busting brackets.
Yeah, but here's the thing. My whole logic for him winning was kind of contingent on the outcome of the next match, which I did not get accurate. So I really don't feel like I can take a lot of pride in that victory. The one reason, though, one other reason aside from just my projections that I did think Nagata might win is because if you look at their all-time career records against one another, they're almost 50-50, but Suzuki was slightly leading. And I kind of felt like Nagata needed to get that win back to keep the rivalry going or keep things even. So that's one reason I kind of went that way. But it did feel kind of cool to have one of the few brackets that had Nagata winning, and he did in fact do that. So that, I think, it busted a lot of people's brackets.
Yeah. We have a question here. What's up?
I was gonna say it shouldn't be too bad though, because I don't think very many people had either Suzuki or Nagata going
very far,
like say to the finals. So I think a lot of people still have hope. But yeah, it was pretty cool to call that.
So we have a question here from Twitter follower Ben Kosminski. It says, where do you think Suzuki goes from here? I think his stock is as high as ever, but getting a feeling that New Japan doesn't want him atop the mid card. Would love to see him and Shingo for the Never Belt.
Well, yeah, I think we all want to see him and Shingo at some point. Absolutely. I don't think that this was, I wouldn't call this like not that, and I don't want to put words in the question asker's mouth, but for me, I wouldn't treat this like some sort of quote unquote crossroads match, like where does he go from here? What is left for Suzuki? It didn't feel like that to me. It felt like this was a tournament. People get upset in tournaments. It happens. And he's still the leader of Suzuki-gun. He's still one of the best workers in the company. And there's still a lot of life left in that character. So I don't know where they go next with him necessarily. But, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. He could challenge for the tag titles. He could fight Jon Moxley again. He could fight, I don't know, Kenta, Jay White, Chris Jericho. I mean, dude, there's a lot of things you could do with Minoru Suzuki. Like, I don't feel like they're anywhere near done with him. And a loss to Nagata, who is one of the few true aces in the history of the company, it's not that big a deal, especially since they've got, a decades-old rivalry with one another.
Yeah, Suzuki is literally always one win away from being in any title picture. He can easily be in the IWGP title picture, IC title picture, never US tag title.
Junior. Fuck it.
That's the only one he might be out of. But yeah, he can literally be heated up and be in any title picture at this point in his career.
Here's one thing. I will say this. We like to make fun of Goto because we always talk about how Goto is the most losingest challenger in the history of the IWGP heavyweight title. I think he's got like 8 failed defenses and he's never won it. The one other guy who's like not far off is Suzuki with like 7. I could have those numbers a little bit smidged. I'm doing it off the top of the dome, but I feel pretty confident that those are accurate. And it is interesting because Suzuki, GHC champion, Triple Crown champion, the one major Pro title that he's never held is the IWGP Championship. And I don't think he's ever going to.
Yeah, at this point, I'd be really surprised if he ends up winning the title.
Yeah,
I think it would take
but he's held like everything else.
Yeah, I think it would take a serious injury or something serious to happen for him to get the belt at this stage in his career right now.
Is there a situation where like maybe he was in that kind of loaded? I know that Dangerous Techers are going for the titles next, but like, is there someone that maybe you'd like to see him? Let's say hypothetically, Golden Aces get past Dangerous Techers. Who could you see Minoru Suzuki like teaming with, maybe as a challenge situation?
I think Taichi would probably be the best. I guess Taichi's with Zach. If it wasn't gonna be Taichi or Zach, who's else in that? They don't really have any other top guys in that heavyweights in that unit, do they?
I guess Davey Boy's gone, Lance Archer's gone, Shelton's gone. It's all juniors after that, right?
Hey, screw it. Desperado and Suzuki, run it.
That would be cool. That'd be and also they lost Iska.
Yeah,
Iska was kind of his tech. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
so maybe we could get that going. I don't know.
Yeah, so great main event here. I went 4.25 on it. Uncle Dave went 4.5. Cage Match has it at 8.45. So a very high rated match here.
You know, I'll go 4.5 on it. And here's the thing. It's sort of like, in a way, it kind of reminds me of, you remember when Brock Lesnar wrestled Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31?
Yeah.
And it was really great because at the end of a really great match, you sort of had that interference. And it's like, it was something that made the match, but it also kind of detracted from the match all at the same time. The cash-in.
Yeah.
Like, it made the match great, but it also kind of took away from how good it had been in a sense as well. So it was like double-edged. That's sort of what the no crowd was for me. Like, it made this match very memorable and helped, but I feel like had a crowd been there, I would be even higher on this, just personally.
Same here.
So I don't know. I think I could even go 4.75. I'm not strict on this stuff, but I think 4.25 is like too low. I think that this was like blow away.
Well, I don't know. There's something that was keeping me. I was a coward and went with the 4.25, but I have no complaints of anybody going 4.5 on it.
Nice.
And before we move on, with Minoru Suzuki, we've seen Suzuki. He takes very good care of his hair. He has some interesting haircuts. He has the squiggles in his head, and always make sure he has to him a fresh haircut. It might be a little different to us, but he's coming out there with the squiggles and making sure he has a fresh cut.
I noticed he had a fresh fade for his birthday.
Yeah. So, do you think Suzuki is a manscaper? Do you think he's taking care of all the hair?
Jeremy, are you asking me, does this man get creative with his hair down there? Are you asking me, does he put squiggles in his pubes? Is that what you're asking me right now?
Wasn't necessarily asking that. I just want to know if you think if he's manscaping.
Oh, absolutely. Have you seen Murder Grandpa's Instagram account? This is one of the most stylish, like, distinguished gentlemen you'd ever see. So of course this man is taking care of business when it comes to situation downstairs.
Yeah, and I hope he's using, the new Lawnmower 3.0 from our friends at Manscaped. They've spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created, and this is new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. I said it last week. I'll say it again. It is the Omega Okada of razors.
Absolutely. It is the Omega Yano of razors, the greatest.
It's a third generation trimmer which features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce manscaping accidents. They are a thing of the past. Young boy, I know you got your package this weekend. What do you think about this thing, man?
Dude, let me tell you something. I've always kind of, I've always been a little bit metro, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I take care of business, but having the right tools in the trade really, really, really help things. This Lawnmower 3.0 is out of this world, man. I mean, you can use it in the shower. You can use it in the dark. It's got a light on it. It never snags. It's got that ceramic edge. So, like, sure, you might have your own trimmer, but like, I know just like anyone else who is regularly, trimming down there, that accidents happen, snags, snips. This completely takes care of that. Like, you don't have to have any kind of fear. It's going to give you a really, really, really like great shave. But the nicest thing is that not only do they have high quality razors, the rest of their products that were provided to us are really, really high caliber. Let me tell you, man, all throughout this quarantine, I've been working out, and, after you get done with the long workout, you take a hot shower. But if you're like anabolic, like heart rate, metabolic, like state is still high, you're going to keep sweating. And the thing that they've provided us with that really helps with that is the ball deodorant. It's this nice, really good smelling cream. After you get done washing your ass, as they would say on Keepin It Strong Style or on One Nation Radio, make sure you wash your ass. But after you get done, you dry off. You give yourself a nice little pat, pop, pop. And dude, I am telling you, literally, like, funky smells from down there are going to be a thing of the past. It completely fights, that the funky smells that you might get from sweat, that sort of thing. And it's going to be better for your overall productive life when it comes to your significant others, your partners, that sort of thing. Like, it's incredible. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, tons of great products along with the razor. So make sure you guys check out all what Manscaped has to offer. You visit manscaped.com and put in the code SUPLEX at checkout. You get 20% off and free shipping. That's right, 20% off and free shipping by using our code SUPLEX.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. Sure, would we sell out? Absolutely. But am I lying to you about how good this stuff is? Absolutely not. I'm telling you, there's a reason that you hear about freaking Manscaped everywhere. This stuff is incredible. So do yourself a favor, get it. And when you do, use that code SUPLEX because it helps us out. It really, really helps us out. For this thing to go on as a prolonged deal, we need your help. We need your support. You're gonna want to use this stuff anyways. So go ahead and get it. And when you do, throw us a bone, throw in that code. You get the savings. You get the free shipping. You get the nice balls. We get your support, which is what we need.
Nice. So let's move on to the main event here of night 2. We had former teammates here, the former protege and former master going head-to-head here. Kazuchika Okada taking on Gato. What are your thoughts on this matchup here?
All right, listen. So we saw this story play out at the end of the year last year at Road to Tokyo Dome. We saw. Was that Road to Tokyo Dome? I might even be mistaken.
I think that was kind of late in the year. I felt like it was in the fall.
All I know is we saw Okada and Gato have a match that was very similar to this last year. Maybe even, that might have been Road to Tokyo Dome. Bro, it wasn't even Road to Tokyo Dome this past year. It was the year before that.
So
it was leading into. Yeah, it was 2018 Road to Tokyo Dome. So it's been a long time since that singles match, now that I'm thinking about it. So we saw Okada and Gato have a match, hot off the heels of Gato's betrayal on Okada. And again, that was like at the end of 2018 leading into the Tokyo Dome, Jay White versus Okada. So, I mean, that was a long time ago. And they had a match. It's full of shenanigans. It was very funny, very entertaining. And, Gato is heavily influenced by Memphis-style brawling and booking and that sort of thing. And this match was essentially another version of that, but much longer and not as good. Plus, there was no audience for a lot of these antics to really be played off of. And so you had Okada and Gato just Jeremy can give us the rundown as far as what Gato did, but I guess my biggest gripe with this match is after the initial humor, the initial creativeness of the match, it really just turned into a super long prolonged like heat segment for Gato where like Okada was selling for him for like out of a 15-minute match, probably at least a good 11 minutes of the match was Okada selling for Gato, which in the main event of New Japan Cup kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I wasn't super high on that.
Yeah, same here. And it's one of those situations, we are empty arena. Yes, Okada is the biggest star in the promotion. Normally you want a main event with your biggest star, but we're an empty arena. There's no crowd here. They could have easily put us in the semi-main and main evented with Suzuki Nagata. Like you're saying, the shenanigans at the beginning of the match were very funny. Gato's coming out here in the sling, saying his arm's hurt, and then he pulls out, brass knuckle, he pulls out a water bottle first. He pulled out the brass knuckles, and then he pulls out this water bottle. I'm guessing it was Triple H's magic spray, and he's trying to spray this man. And then eventually, he's pulling out brass knuckles all over the place, and there's just so much, smoke and mirrors and cheating for Gato to be able to get the heat on Okada, which just went too long.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the thing with it all is just it was entertaining initially, the way that they kind of portrayed it, but I'm not sure why they went with this as the headline. I guess just because Okada's the big star, they want to have him do his speech at the end and kind of close things out. But they were very limited, as far as what they could do with Gato given his current physical state.
Yeah. With Gato pulling out, he's pulling out the brass knuckles. He uses a wrench. He gets a wrench from the floor. That's where he starts getting the heat on Okada and grabbing a table and, doing all this stuff in front of Red Shoes here. And it's like, I get it. I know Red Shoes let a lot of stuff fly, but I mean, this was just like some blatant cheating and, not much was being done about it. Gato's using all these weapons and he's just, getting this long heat segment on Okada until Okada's, finally able to kind of start making his comeback here.
Yeah, and this was something where I had originally kind of predicted an Okada upset. I kind of thought that there's a chance that Gato could have beaten him. And part of the reason I thought that was a viable option is just because when the original brackets came out, you had Jay White versus Okada, and a lot of people thought Jay White was going to kind of go far in this tournament. So I was thinking that they're going to keep some of that booking intact, hypothetically. And so that's kind of the reason that I sort of had some of that slotted. But once the match started playing out and you've got Gato, getting heat on Okada for 11, 12 minutes, it became very apparent right away, like, there's no way Gato is going to win this. And I feel like the smarter booking option would have been to have this be a little bit less on the nose, a little bit more nuanced. If it was a struggle for, if Okada got a lot of shine and then kept almost beating Gato, but Gato had outside cronies helping him to distract and ref bumps and things of that nature, and it wasn't him getting heat, but it was, him kind of surviving and then cheating, then the results might have been a little bit more in question. We might have been able to believe, but they kind of just really, like, they telegraphed the whole thing, because there's no way that Okada's going to sell for 11 minutes and then also get beat by Gato. That's just not happening.
Right.
So the upset was not in question when I was watching this, and I was super bummed by that, because I was like, I can't imagine anyone else in this side of the bracket beating Okada personally. So when I saw this like playing out this way, I was like, all right, well, Okada's going to the finals.
Right. Yeah, so we had Gato, retrieving a set of brass knuckles from the post that was taped there, using the brass knucks and doing the Gato clutch for a near fall. Then we had Jado coming out. Gato tries to do the Blade Runner. Okada blocks that, hits a drop kick. Jado's trying to get the ref. Gato gets brass knuckles again. Okada ducks, hits a drop kick, a second drop kick, which sends Gato into Jado. And then he does a tombstone and uses the billion yen dream sleeper submission hold to get the victory.
No, that is not the billion yen dream. I'm shocked and ashamed and appalled that you thought that that's what it was, sir. The billion yen dream is a Cobra clutch. That was not a Cobra clutch. That was a head arm triangle choke turned into a, like, he did a variation of a head arm triangle choke. It is different. The biggest difference, I don't know if you noticed, he had the arm sort of like a top wrist lock like this, and then choked on the other side. It's an entirely new move that Okada has never used before.
Gotcha. Yeah. For some reason, I guess I just assumed it was the. It's been a while since I've seen the billion yen dream. I assumed it was that.
Could it be 10 times better? So maybe it's the 10 billion yen dream.
I think so.
I think that might be it. So, all right, we need to tweet Kadani. We need to tweet Harold May.
Everybody.
We did have who was the guy that was like in charge, like Michael Craven.
Oh yeah, Craven.
Yeah, like he was there, but then he wasn't there, but then he actually was there, and then it was like this big thing because other podcasts talk about how he got fired, but he wasn't, but he actually did, and they were actually right. And we need to tweet him too.
We had a question here from Reddit user Rainbow and Slam Pig. How many pairs of brass knuckles do you think Gato owns?
I don't know. I mean, at least 2.
I think he's fully stocked. I think he just has one for each tour. He has a set for each tour.
See, I don't think brass knucks are the kind of thing that you keep as a like sentimental thing. I think that's the sort of thing you go to like a local market, like a seedy part of town where they sell like, throwing stars and scythes and things of that nature. And you get yourself a really cheap pair of brass knucks. You buy them in bulk, and when you're done using them, because this is a crime thing, your fingerprints are on them, you throw them down a river somewhere so no one can find them. You don't keep them. He probably has none on him, but he can get them from a supplier at any given moment. That's what I think.
This is the same supplier that Doki's getting the bent pipe from and that Evil's getting his scythe from?
No, Doki keeps that thing on him at all times. You can tell because it's heavily damaged and it's like broken, and he can't afford, bro, on that jobber salary, those pesos he makes down in Mexico, he can't afford to get a new pipe, bro. Like, no. Times are tough. He had to take a pay cut due to COVID. Like, no, he's not. He's got one pipe. That's it.
Hard times, Daddy.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the last night here, night 3, which happened this morning, Monday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time. And
I just got done watching this.
Nice, just in time. I was able to watch it earlier. And so, let's go through this night here. We had a little change. We had a change of building, so we were in Korakuen Hall, empty arena Korakuen
Was
Hall.
that Korakuen?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Because I looked for the cross beams, and I couldn't find them. And I was like, the floor looks like Korakuen, but I can't find the...
I'm pretty sure it was Korakuen. I think it was just set up a little bit differently because of it being empty arena and kind of how they shifted some things around. But I'm like 90% sure that was Korakuen.
It had a stage. I wasn't sure if it was Korakuen. I wasn't sure which either one of those two places was.
Well, regardless, they were in a different building than the first 2 nights, and we had a different format here where we had the multi-man tag match first instead of in between the tournament matches. So we had the multi-man match, and then we had straight 4 tournament matches in a row.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know if I prefer one over the other, to be honest. That's the thing. We didn't even touch on this. These shows are like 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, really easy watches, and I got to tell you, if they were doing the traditional 8 matches, 10 matches, whatever it was, I would hate these shows. I don't think I could watch a bunch of, preview tags in an empty arena. That would just be monotonous and really be overkill. But because it's just one, and then you've got a bunch of singles matches, have at it. This is great.
Yeah, I love the format of these shows. Yeah, smooth 2 hours. 4 tournament matches, 1 multi-man. You got an intermission in there. You can skip through if you don't watch live. I'm loving the format so far. So we kick things off here. 8-man tag action. Suzuki-gun, Doki, El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeat the team of Gabriel Kidd, Yota Tsuji, Yuji Nagata, and Yuya Uemura. 10 minutes and 33 seconds.
Oh, the team with the 3 young lions. I wonder who's going to lose.
This man, they gave Nagata this big win, and then they saddled him with the young lions to take on the Suzuki-gun team here.
Yeah, this was pretty good, though. Suzuki-gun really controlled, like, I don't have a lot to say about it, but I remember watching it and just, like, Suzuki was in control, like, the whole match. And I was like, man, they're really not telling a story here of, like, back and forth. This is just Suzuki-gun kicking the shit out of a bunch of young lions. Like, it's kind of great.
Yeah, they were working over those young lions. And, yeah, I don't really have a lot of deep thoughts on this match. It was a fun opener. It was kind of great seeing Suzuki and Nagata interactions again, and it makes you think, maybe are they kind of planning a long-term feud with these guys for the remainder of this year?
Old beef.
Old beef is new. And then Desperado here is the one that gets the win. He hits the Pinche Loco on Tsuji, so looks like they're going to be heating up Desperado for something down the line as well.
Yeah, hopefully. It is interesting. You've got Desperado, Suzuki, and Kanemaru all out of the tournament.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. So let's kick off these. Oh, you have something?
No, I was gonna say let's go to the next tournament matchup.
Yeah, let's kick off these tournament matches. So we start the night with Sonata taking on Ryusuke Taguchi, heavyweight versus junior. First round of the match. Jeremy.
Nah. These are 2 heavyweights. Taguchi's a heavyweight. I'm telling you, we need call Aranova, pull the scale out, make this man Taguchi stay on the scale.
What's the weight limit? It's like 220.
Yeah.
In Japan, I believe.
Yeah.
I have it on good authority. Ryusuke Taguchi is 269 pounds.
Yeah,
the funky weapon.
Yeah, his ass alone is, majority of the weight there.
So last week I said this is a match that I was looking forward to. Let's just make a formal retraction to that one. No, just playing. Actually, I thought it was pretty good though. We did get a brief appearance of Big Match Taguchi.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think it started off really slow. Like the very beginning, like they did some really great like chain wrestling and some like good like amateur wrestling, and then they kind of went into like the antics of the fist bumping and who can put who in the Paradise Lock and just kind of like goofing off a little bit. And then towards the end, it kind of picked back up, and we got like that finishing sequence of the Big Match Taguchi, like the crossbody, and then Sonata kind of doing his stuff. But it took a while to get there.
Yeah, I kind of think just I don't really take Taguchi that seriously. I know he can win stuff, but especially given this environment, I mean, I really don't take him seriously. So I kind of I enjoyed and expected the fist bumps and the moments where they're both trying to put each other, the stalemates, them putting each other's feet down. I did like when, part of the story leading into this match was that Taguchi, as a goofball and not a master, was trying to put Sonata in the Paradise Lock, and he kept trying, and finally in this match, he thought that he did it.
Dude,
and it was very clear that he did not have this man's hands locked. So, like, Sonata's in it, but he's just looking around, and he's like, my hands are totally free. And, like, Taguchi, like, finally gets him, like, turned over, and then Taguchi's, like, dancing, and he's so happy.
He put his knee, he's doing the Captain Morgan, he's putting his, like, leg up on him, doing, like, the taunt, the Taguchi Japan, like, kind of pose.
And then once there's some distance, and he stands up, he turns around, Sonata's standing up, and he looks like AJ when he finds out that the Undertaker has teleported behind him. And you know what? There is an argument people can make towards the end of this match. A lot of the good sequences that close out the match kind of centered around Taguchi getting more serious and working an ankle hold lock. And they did a lot of those classic Kurt Angle spots where, he has the ankle lock, he gets kicked off, he keeps holding on to it. And then, working out of other submissions or other big moves back into the ankle lock. It's one of those things that always kind of works, and Angle did a lot of that, and it was great. But for some reason, I couldn't take Taguchi in this particular scenario very seriously because I knew that the ankle lock just was not going to work against Sonata at all.
Mm-hmm.
So every time he had it, it felt like a parody of the spot as opposed to me buying in to the idea that Sonata was going to tap. And because we have to talk about no crowd. Because there's no crowd, there's no one else there for me to really feel what the crowd was feeling. If the crowd was quiet, then maybe I would feel more confident about my take. If they really, really, really got hyped and started buying into it, then maybe that would have changed my perception. But it was hard for me to believe that, even though Taguchi and Sonata worked hard at the end and it was kind of good, I never thought Taguchi was going to beat Sonata, so I kind of always knew what was happening.
Yeah, so towards the end here, Taguchi goes for the Magistral Cradle, gets a near fall. Sonata rolls through and does the rolling Japanese clutch for the pinfall victory here. Sonata gets the win and a fine tournament matchup. I went 3 1/4 here.
That's a fine grade. One interesting thing, Sonata did have the skull on Taguchi a couple times and was not able to beat him with it, and had to beat him with what'd you call it, the Japanese clutch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to remember who from World of Sport used to use that a lot. Johnny Saint. That's like the Johnny Saint pin. But I just thought that was interesting that he beat him with that pin as opposed to beating him with the Skullin.
Or the moonsault.
Or even the moonsault, yeah. Good match though. And Sonata moves on, just like I think a lot of people kind of figured.
Yeah. So moving on to the next matchup here, we had Sho taking on Shingo Takagi. Awesome match. By so far, in my estimation, I've got this as the second best match of the tournament.
But I think some people, I don't know, I haven't looked at anyone else's opinions. I wouldn't be surprised if many people thought this was the best match of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, right now on Cage Match is at 8.66. On Grapple, I believe it's 4.33. I went 4.5 on it. For me, this is my number one match of the tournament. I thought this was excellent. I absolutely loved this matchup. These two guys was going out here killing each other. It's great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how Sho. It's not surprising given the history between Sho and Shingo, but Sho just went out there and just took it to him as soon as the bell started. You could even tell right from before the bell started with the stare down and the face off that this was going to be a serious battle. And Sho gave Shingo everything he had. And these two guys, I mean, the story of this match was lariats. I mean, clothesline after clothesline after clothesline. I mean, there was a lot more than just that. But those clotheslines in this match and the lariats in this match, the pumping bombers and the V-triggers and the punches and everything, the headbutts, and it's just crazy. This match was really awesome.
Yeah, like I was saying, man, if you go hard hitting, that's one of the ways to go in empty arena matches. And these guys, yeah, you heard those lariats sounding off, those pumping bombers. This was so excellent. You know, this story of Sho, this has been burning inside of him, this desire to beat Shingo. He failed to do it in Best of Super Juniors, and he struggled for so long, and now he finally, due to the pandemic, getting this chance to go in there with Shingo, and he was able to beat him. And you saw the fire the whole match. He was so determined to knock off the Dragon here.
So, I mean, Shingo, man, full heavyweight for the first time since he's been in New Japan. I mean, that boy put on some pounds. You noticed that?
Yeah, he looked a little thick.
Yeah, he's looking a little fluffy. But, the match started off really hot with these guys trading strikes and trading big maneuvers and going for pinfalls. But once things kind of settled down, the story was a lot of Shingo as a heavyweight almost being too cocky against Sho, being very slightly heelish. And I mean, just as a kind of quick refresher, when Shingo came into the company, him and Bushi, he came in as a junior, and him and Bushi feuded in the junior tag division against Roppongi 3K for a good portion of the year. and eventually beat them for the junior titles. And, match after match after match after match, Sho could not beat Shingo. And then when they finally faced off on the first night of Best Super Juniors, they had a blowaway match, and Sho came within inches of beating Shingo, but was ultimately defeated by him. And that kind of leads us here. Sho's still a junior. Shingo has now gone to heavyweight. He is a force to be reckoned with. He hardly ever loses. And at this point, what reason does he really have to be afraid of Sho? I mean, he's fought the best in New Japan, guys that Sho probably couldn't compete with or even beat. And he's been able to, have his way with Sho. Sho's never beaten him. And, this was kind of for a formality for Shingo. But for Sho, this was a one-match tournament. This is, for him, I don't think he really necessarily has illusions of getting his way to Dominion fight Naito. But Shingo has been his, ultra rival, the guy that he's wanted to knock off forever. And his whole goal was to beat Shingo. And it would take everything he has. And I don't know what after this match, what he's even going to have left in another round. But
yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think he kind of emptied the gun here, and so moving on to the next round, I think he's definitely going to go in hurting and not be at 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't want to give it away, but obviously, if you're listening, the deal here is Sho upset Shingo Takagi. And I think part of it was just Shingo took Sho too lightly, and he paid the consequences for it. And then towards the end of the match, as Sho was kind of surging, he tried to put him away. I don't think he'd done enough work to actually put him away. And some of the things that he normally would be able to put a guy away with, like Made Japan, Public Bomber, they weren't enough. I think by the time he tried to get him up for the, what's it called, Last of the Dragon?
Mm-hmm.
By the time he got him up for Last of the Dragon, I don't think he put enough groundwork to really have his man put away, and Sho caught him. He caught him with both versions of the shock arrow, and that was that. And he got the biggest win of his career.
Yeah.
By beating Shingo Takagi. He immediately puts himself in contention for a never open weight title shot. And this is a huge, huge deal for Sho.
Yeah, and the story of this match, it reminded me of the Ospreay Shingo match from Best Super Juniors last year, in which, Shingo, he destroyed his block. He's going against Ospreay, and Ospreay was kind of the underdog in that match, and Shingo kind of took Ospreay lightly. He's like, I just, cleaned my block out. Why do I have to, worry about this guy? And so I think, kind of let his guard down a little bit. I think that's what happened here.
Yeah, I think there is an element to Shingo where he is a little bit too self-confident and a little bit too cocky in character, and it costs him sometimes. A little bit of that hubris is kind of what we see sometimes from, say, like Zack Sabre. There's no denying that both of those guys on any given night can defeat anybody in the company or in wrestling for that matter. But more often than not, they don't put it all together, and it's because these little character ticks. There's things missing, things they're overlooking, and he got beat by a junior in Sho, and it's a big deal. I will say this: I liked the match a heck of a lot. I'm probably 4.5 on it. What'd you say you were 4.5? Yeah, I'd probably go 4.5 on it. It's not far off from the match that I liked with Nagata and Suzuki, but I don't think it's as good as their initial match. But I felt like they were holding back a little bit. I feel like the first time they wrestled last year, they went all out. In this one, I felt like this was more of a setup match for an eventual title shot between Sho and Shingo.
Yeah.
I really got those vibes very heavily. For that reason, I don't think it's as, I could even go 4.25 on it, honestly. I don't know. I'm somewhere between 4.25 and 4.5, but I was just so happy to see Sho beat Shingo is my whole feeling at the end of it all.
And let's take a little victory lap on that, because I didn't hear many people going into this tournament saying that Sho was going to beat Shingo. A lot of people had Shingo circled, and they kind of put Sho out there. And me and you were like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Sho to beat Shingo to set up this never open weight title match. And then today, when it happens, I'm seeing all these people like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, they can set up a never open weight title match. And I'm like, Young Boy and I, the Ace of Podcast, we saw the vision ahead. We saw this. We saw this coming.
Yeah, I mean, if you had Shingo lose to someone else in the tournament, you could have done that. But I mean, let's say he faces Sonata next, right? Pretty much, if he wins.
Yeah.
So then what? If Sonata beats him, then Sonata is in line for a never title, and they're stablemates. That doesn't really make sense. If he beats Sonata, that's fine, but then that really damages. It just didn't make sense. Like, there was no given the brackets, there's no viable option other than Shingo going really far in the tournament and winning the thing probably. This is the only thing that really made sense. Like, it had to be this. And given the story that they've been telling, like, I love it. Now, I understand why some people thought Sho might not beat him, because I think for some people they want Sho to chase him for even longer, But to me, I'm like, man, if we've learned anything this year, nothing's guaranteed. You think everything's good, you do 2 nights at the Dome, and then 2 months later – you can't even put people in a building. Don't hold this shit off. Like, let's get to it. Sho beats Shingo. Boom. Run it.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Shingo is probably going to end up retaining at Dominion, and then you can tell that story of Sho wanting to beat him for a belt.
I agree with you. Playing devil's advocate, how badass would it be if Sho was a singles champion before Yo?
That would be cool, and that would be a definitely wrinkle in that story between those two guys.
So I'm just saying that's feasible, because I don't think he's going to beat Shingo twice. But if you were going to beat Shingo, I mean, it's the never title. It changes hands a lot. I mean, Shingo, obviously, I think most people would agree is of a higher caliber than simply just being a never guy. Even though I think he's good for the never division, he could be good for the IC or the US or whatever. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with this Sho Shingo rivalry down the line. So moving on to the semi-main event of the evening, we had Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr.
So to quote the famous comment from GSP to Matt Serra after one of the UFCs, GSP walked in after Matt Serra had defended his title, and he said, "I am not impressed with your performance."
Dude, I remember that. They play on so many video packages.
Dude, maybe this is just me. You and I have not talked on the air. This, to me, is the most disappointing Kota Ibushi Zack Sabre match of all, not time, of all times. All of them. Ever.
Yeah, man. I was a little bit underwhelmed by this matchup, and I put a lot of expectations on this match. This was one I had circled as, being one of the best matches of the tournament. I thought with their chemistry and the fact that it would be a striking submission-based match, that it would be great for empty arena, kind of that UFC style like we talked about the last couple of weeks here on the show. And they went out there. They had, I thought it was a good match. I mean,
it was okay.
I went 4 stars flat on it.
Oh, what? 4?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, I'm way lower than that.
Dang, how low are you?
Like 3.5, maybe lower.
Okay, wow.
I don't know, man. Okay, let me just say this. Zack Sabre, this was a really, really, really awesome, like a clinic. This is an incredible clinic. If you want to learn how Zack Sabre grapples, then it was awesome. As far as the story, I don't even know what the story was. I know the story of Zack Sabre matches. The story, and Kota Ibushi. The story is always Kota Ibushi is an awesome striker. Zack Sabre is an incredible grappler. They try to play each other's games. They pay for it. There's a back and forth, and it's awesome. And they have really great chemistry and lots of reversals, and it goes all over the place, and there's lots of near falls. It's really great. Nah, bro. Zach just fucking was like eating Kota Ibushi alive, but he wasn't doing shit to him. Like, this didn't even feel like a wrestling match to me. It just felt like a guy who was doing a tutorial on his quote unquote mat grappling skills. Most wrestling matches have like a story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm attacking this limb. I'm attacking that limb. I'm trying to do this or do that. This was not that. This was just Zach doing shit. Literally, Zach was just doing shit, and I'm usually a lot higher on Zach. Zach was like, "All right, I'm gonna grab your arm. Now I'm gonna grab your leg. Now I'm gonna grab your arm. Now I'm gonna grab your leg." And like, it wasn't like Kota Ibushi was like getting in the like struggling for the ropes and life and death. Like, he was just kind of lackadaisical and sitting in these holds. Like, they weren't working holds. I don't know what the fuck this was, to be honest with you. I think this was terrible for them.
I think part of it, kind of what I got out of the story was, Ibushi, like we mentioned, was kind of on this losing streak, on this slump, and like Sabre was just kind of overwhelming him and kind of making you fall into that story of, oh, Sabre's probably going to get Ibushi out of here. Then Ibushi kind of comes back at the end and kind of gets a quick win.
Well, then they should have told that story better, I think. I do agree. I understand why that story would make sense, because every time they're in the New Japan Cup together, Zack Sabre beats him. This is the third time. Following that logic, you would think, oh, Zach's going to beat him. It's a foregone conclusion. He obviously didn't. But, like, even the ending of the match was stupid. Like, Zach was just doing some shit, and then like Kota Ibushi caught him in a Kamigoye and then pinned him. Yeah, that's what happened.
He caught him with a V trigger first, and then the Kamigoye.
Yeah, it was just like whatever. I mean, he was throwing some strikes in, but like Kota Ibushi had an easy night, man. he didn't have to do shit. Like, this was like, I don't know. If I was trying to learn how to do a lot of transition wrestling, and have good movement, then I'd watch this all day. But as a fan of pro wrestling for a story and everything, I wouldn't watch this. And this was one of the weakest Zack Sabre performances I can remember in New Japan.
Yeah, and it seems like this one, people are kind of in the same range. So on Grapple, it's averaging 3 point. Hold on, I actually got the mix up here. So Cage Match is it's 7.24, so that would come out to like 3.69, and then on Grapple, hold on, just refreshed on me.
I'll go 3.5 on it, I guess.
Yeah, it seems that's what a lot of people are kind of in that 3.5, 3.75 range.
But for these two guys, I have such higher expectations than that, like crazy.
Yeah, on Grapple it's 3.69. So it seems like people were kind of like that 3.7 kind of range. Maybe some people like me giving it 4 stars, and I don't know. Maybe the V trigger gate popped me, and maybe that's why I went a little bit higher on it. But
I thought it was cool, but I didn't even think I thought Sho threw a better V trigger in the match before than Kota Ibushi did. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he did. That was a solid one. He nailed him on that.
Yeah, I just didn't know what was going on here. Like and again, I think part of it is because there's no audience, and I don't know if Zack Sabre knows how to wrestle to no audience. Think about that for a second,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his style has to do with the surprise element of what he's doing. It's like they're doing something and then bam, he's got him in a submission. You didn't expect it, even though you should expect it. It came from out of nowhere, and the crowd pops. There's no crowd. It's just him popping around on his own, and you're like, what's he doing, dude?
Yeah, you don't get that kind of ooh and off factor of him, switching holds or wrenching on a hold.
And Ibushi wasn't like acting life and death. He was laying in a lot of those. A lot of it was leg lock based. He's just laying in these leg locks. So I'm like, bro, you got a kneecap still? Like, he's got you in knee bars, and he's got you in all these heel hooks. Like, I don't know what is going on. And then he stands up and he kicks this dude. I don't know, bro. And it's funny that I'm the one criticizing this. I'm the one who likes the Zack Sabre stuff. Like, I like the kind of like hybrid shoot stuff, but this sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was expecting it to be better. I was expecting it to get to that 4.5, even 4.75 star range for me, and it was far from that. I don't know what was going on here. Next
time they need Kota Ibushi, they need to tell a story where Kota Ibushi's the better striker, and then just have him kick the crap out of Zack Sabre for retribution about making me watch this match. In all fairness, though, I do think a lot of these, obviously Zach's like one of the elite. So is Kota Ibushi. I think they, in my opinion, just had a misstep or an off night. But I think for a lot of these guys, they're still just trying to figure out how to work empty arena.
Right, and maybe even just getting some ring rust off. I mean, they haven't worked in
that's true
3
too.
months.
Yeah, but this is I would say, in my opinion, the biggest disappointment of the tournament so far in round 1.
Yeah,
I think this was one of our like top 2 most anticipated matches.
Yeah,
and I'm very disappointed.
Yeah. So let's move on to the main event here. So we had Taichi taking on the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Yeah, I thought this sucked too, and it was way too long.
Yeah, I was a little bit low. Like they kind of got me back towards the end.
3 stars.
Oh wow, that low,
bro. This sucked.
I wasn't that low on it. I was 3.75 on it.
What? Oh no, I'm just playing. What were your thoughts, man?
Well, first of all, we got to talk about LOD Tanahashi coming out here with these spikes.
Bro, I don't like Tanahashi coming out with so much hard drip just to lose. Like, bro, if you're going to flex on us like that, you better win. Like, this man came out so freaking fly. Like, this gear, this new entrance gear, his hair, he came out with the ponytail. Like, this man came to brawl, bro.
Well, he thought he was going to win. So, he had the spikes on, he had a new gear, he was taunting, and then he got power bombed.
Gato didn't tell him?
What do you mean? This is a shoot, sir.
But yeah, man, he came out and he looked incredible, and I was like, why has this man got the rawest like gear ever right now in an empty arena on like a Monday night? He's like he went so hard, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, he comes in the ring, he's posing. Taichi last ride power bombs him. We have a big kind of selling segment here where Young Lions are checking on him, Red Shoes is checking on him. Taichi's telling him to start the match.
I liked that aspect of it, that Taichi attacked him in the beginning, and I thought the sell was really good and everything. But man, this is just more bullshit Taichi stuff, and I didn't like it, man. I didn't like it. I didn't like the layout of the match. I didn't like the pacing of the match. I thought it went way too long. For me, it went 21 minutes, but it felt like it went like 35 minutes. It felt really long.
I didn't think it felt that long, but it was kind of long. The opening, like the first half of the match, I was totally disinterested with all Taichi cheating. You had Doki out there with the bent pipe and helping Taichi cheat, and there's a lot of cheating towards the beginning, and then I feel towards the middle, once Tanahashi kind of started firing up and started kind of fighting from underneath and making these comebacks, that hooked me and started getting me back into the match, and I really liked the last half of the match.
I felt like the only thing like Tanahashi was hitting him with were like dragon screws, and I didn't think Taichi was like selling them effectively. And Taichi, like, I don't know. Like, I get it. He's selling for heat. Oh, you know what? Okay, I was trying to remember what I didn't like about this match. Taichi was doing a lot of things that you would do to get heat from an audience. But there was no audience.
Right.
So it really made the pacing and the feel of the match, like, just feel off. And then Tanahashi had to be overly beaten because Taichi's not obviously on his level. So they had to do a lot of things to make Taichi's win believable. He had to get attacked before the match. He had to have outside interference. There had to be a lead pipe. There had to be cheating and shenanigans. And basically Taichi had to start the match with a huge head start in order for it to be believable that he could even feasibly win at the end of it all,
Yeah.
I did think the end of the match was good, but it just felt slow, man. Like, some people might call it effective selling. I just thought that they were just going way too slow. Like, they were going move, wait, another move, and Tanahashi teases a comeback, but he gets cut off. And like, I just thought it was slow. I couldn't believe this is the main event.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the beginning half of the match was definitely very slow, but I definitely feel like it picked up. Taichi hits that backdrop suplex, like drops Ace right on his head. And then from there, Tanahashi is fighting off not getting another back suplex, and he's fighting and fighting, and he's trying to hit the sling blade, and then he's finally able to fight back and hit the sling blade and start kind of making that Tanahashi come back. He hits the high five flow, the crossbody version, and he's trying to come back.
Both of those moves look bad.
What, the high fly flow?
The high fly flow looked bad, and the sling blade looked bad, and both of them were not in good shape. Tanahashi's in relatively good shape, but for himself, he's not.
Yeah.
And Taichi is in actively bad shape. And that's one thing I thought was why they were working so slow. I don't think that they could keep up a pace to work a high energy pace. And so, yes, you're right. Yeah, it did pick up once he hit him with the high fly or with the Saito. But then, they were hitting the moves all fucked up looking. And I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, the high fly flow was very off. And yeah.
Bro, he hit him in the legs.
Yeah.
Taichi didn't even catch him. Taichi tried to catch him, and Taichi bent over and he hit him in the gut and in his legs and fell over. And I was like, bro, this is supposed to be the best wrestling in the world. This looks terrible.
Yeah, there were definitely some rough spots here. So towards the end here, you got Taichi hitting the axe boomba, jumping high kick, takes a trouser off. He gets a super kick, the Black Mephisto. 1, 2, 3. Taichi defeats the Ace.
Yeah, bracket buster. I've liked all the other Tanahashi Taichi matches, and man, I don't know. I wish I could go through the history of the show and think of all the times where I've been I'm not going to doubt Taichi anymore. He has earned my respect. And then an episode or two later, this motherfucker coming out here giving us this bullshit, and then I keep going back and forth, and then I literally went into 2020 thinking Taichi's done with that shenanigans. We're never getting crappy Taichi ever again, and then I feel like we did here, and I feel I'm disappointed, and I was actively excited about this match. I didn't like it. I'll go 3 1/4 on it.
Wow. Yeah, so it seems like the average on Grapple right now is 3.5. I haven't seen the cage match yet, so people were definitely low on this matchup here, and there's a lot of kind of 3.5, 3.75 kind of ratings here. And for
man. After the match, Taichi, cut a promo, and then I don't know. I kind of fast forward. Doki came out. I didn't understand it, obviously, but They were attacking Tanahashi. Kota Ibushi came out to make the save. They had a standoff, and then I don't know. I guess they double teamed.
Ibushi. Yeah, they double teamed Ibushi, and then Taichi grabbed both of the tag belts. So,
and then he cut more of a promo, and they walked off, and the heels stood tall, and the Golden Aces looked beaten and dejected. So that was night 3.
Yeah. And yeah, I had it wrong, man. Ibushi won.
You had Tanahashi going to the finals, didn't you?
So in my predictions, on the air, I was going with Tanahashi, but the bracket that I made, I actually have Sonata going through.
Okay, so I did the same thing last week. I don't know if anyone recalls, but when we were talking about that top third region, I was kind of stalling because I couldn't remember. I was trying to figure out what my reasoning is for what I was predicting on the air, but it was because what I was predicting on the air was not what I actually put on paper. What I put on paper was Tanahashi winning and then facing ZSJ, and I got it wrong. But the first bracket that I ever did, the one that I redid, that one I did have Taichi winning. And then going up against Ibushi, but I was like, no, that's just too many upsets. I need to be more, more reasonable. I think some of the stuff that you and I talked about kind of changed my perspective. And so you got me to change my mind on Tanahashi and had him going through, losing to Zack Sabre in the second round, and now I regret it.
I finessed you.
It's your fault. Yeah, you finessed me, man.
Have a question here from Highest Fly Flow. It says, what do you guys think about the Taichi Tana match? At the Tana mark, I wish it went on second to last and Taichi destroyed Tana in under 5 or 6 minutes. Tana doesn't need to look good. Taichi does. Also, is there anything... let's finish... Also, is there anything more unbelievable than Doki beating up Tanahashi?
Okay.
He says, I think Vince Russo winning the WCW title is more believable than Doki landing a hit on Tanahashi.
I would just rather they have a good match. I don't care how long it goes. It could go 1 minute, 30 minutes, as long as it is good and entertaining. I didn't find this to be good or entertaining. I don't think Taichi could destroy Tanahashi in 6 minutes. Like, that's like kind of crazy sounding. So I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think a squash match would help Taichi get over. I think a competitive, great match would help Taichi get over.
Well, he's not trying to get over. He's trying to get that heat, brother.
As far as Doki beating up Tanahashi, yeah, that's
he had a pipe. What are you talking about? I do think that Doki beating up Tanahashi is more believable than Vince Russo winning the WCW title.
I agree. Yeah, Russo should not have been in the ring at all.
Yeah, bro. Like, he's got like spaghetti noodles for arms.
Yeah, and Doki with the pipe. But yeah, with the pipe, you can take out anybody.
Doki, I mean, yeah, every now and again, you know, the Putty Patrol get one up on the Power Rangers. I mean, come on.
So, any final thoughts on first 3 nights of New Japan Cup?
I like a lot of what they've done here. I'm excited for what's going on with the Young Lions in New Japan going forward. I think their futures look very bright, and it's pretty exciting stuff. I think the layout of the tournaments has been really fantastic. We're starting to get a better grasp of what's, you know, on the horizon. We're going to do a preview here in just a minute for the next, you know, couple nights. So that's good. But I really loved, you know, I loved Nagata Suzuki. I loved Sho Shingo. And, yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed these first 3 nights. Some really great matches and loving the format and just loving everything. Overall, I've really been enjoying the tournament, so really looking forward to the next couple nights here. Question here from Howard Schilling saying, what is your overall match of the tournament so far?
For me, it's Nagata Suzuki.
For me, it's Sho and Shingo.
Nice.
Next question from Sir Sam. He says, based on the first round, who is the top young lion?
That's Yumura.
Yeah, I think we agree on that. Yuya Uemura. Then he says, has ZSJ been in Japan through the whole COVID period, or did he just fly over early? I'm kind of confused why he and no other international wrestlers made it in.
Well, I will say this. I don't follow the ongoings and the lifestyles of any of these wrestlers, except for Minoru Suzuki, because his Instagram is just fire. That being said, I imagine Zach has either been in the country the whole time or returned, you know, not relatively recently, but a while ago, one or the other, but that would explain why.
From my understanding, I believe he was in the country the whole time. So I think that's why. Also, that's why he's there and not having a travel ban, having to quarantine or anything. He's been in the country this whole time, and so makes sense why he's the only Gaijin.
You know, it's got to be awfully hard if you think about it. Being if you don't speak the language, you're there in the middle of a pandemic, social distancing, lots of guidelines. I wonder what. I don't want to. Not that I care about is what his living conditions are, but you think about, like, you hear stories about a lot of these big cities and with the budgets people have. It's one reason a lot of people are thinking about getting out of the cities because they're spending exorbitant amounts of money, and then when they're stuck in their apartments during quarantine, it was like, I don't have anything. I'm just here in this like literal one room, and I'm stuck here. And so I hope he hasn't been going too stir crazy, or I hope he's got good living quarters or something like that.
Maybe he's been quarantining with Taichi.
Possibly.
All right. So,
Although I don't know,
all right. So,
although I don't know, one of them looks to be in the exact same shape as he was prior to everything, and then you got Taichi.
So let's move on to New Japan Cup previews for this week. So we got 2 shows for the rest of this week, June 23rd and June 24th. So night 4, June 23rd, we have Hiroshi Tenzan versus Yoshihashi, Bushi versus Yo, Kojima versus Evil, and Goto versus Yujiro.
Yeah, so this night's interesting. I think the big thing here, and Jeremy, you just tell me if I'm out of line here. These matches don't matter as far as who's winning the tournament.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there.
I think that there can be some really good storytelling elements that come out of it, some really good matches, and it'll be intriguing to see who goes forward. But ultimately, Tenzan, Yoshihashi, Yo, Bushi, Kojima, Evil, Yujiro, Goto. Any y'all want to see them fight Naito?
Nah.
Any of them?
Well,
like, come on.
I want to see Kojima, but that's about it.
Other than Jeremy? Anybody? So this is it's funny how like the bottom 2 brackets have been really soft. Like the bottom 2 regions.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean we could talk about these matches. I think we can keep it pretty short though.
Yeah, I mean Tenzan, Yoshihashi. I think Yoshihashi.
Yeah, I think Yoshihashi's going through there. Tenzan's on his last leg. He got beat in the tournament last year by what's wrong with me? Taguchi. Taguchi beat Tenzan in the first round of the New Japan Cup. That should tell you something. I do think the one thing I will say, Yoshihashi is very serviceable, even though he's not our favorite guy. He might be able to lead. I've seen him have matches with guys that you would think he wouldn't have good matches with, like Makabe and things of that nature. And this might be who knows how many more singles matches Tenzan has in him. So maybe we get, a tope out of Tenzan. We might we might get a good effort here, but I'm not expecting much. And obviously I think Yoshihashi's going through.
Now we got Bushi and Yo. I think Bushi's going to get the win here.
I've got Bushi getting the win here, but it really wouldn't make a big difference to me. I just don't know what story you're telling when you have Yo win. If Bushi wins, then you kind of have a heel foil for Yoshihashi. If Yo wins, then you've got stablemates and in different weight classes. It doesn't really it's not that compelling to me.
Yeah. And I think with Yo losing, like we talked about last week, you set that story up. Now Show is won, Yo loses, and you kind of start the tension between those two.
And on the flip side, I mean, Tenzan wins hypothetically, and you send Yo through to him. That doesn't sound too great either, because I just think it's most likely Yo's not winning here. These two guys very familiar with one another. They should have a good match. I'm not a big Bushi fan, as I don't think you really are either, Jeremy, right?
He's fine.
He's fine. But I've never seen Bushi and Yo have a blowaway match. I've seen them in multiple blocks against one another in Super Junior blocks, and obviously they've fought each other in tag team matches a million times, and I can't remember anything compelling ever happening between them two. So I don't want to be too much of a downer. It should be good, but not great.
Yeah. Bushi's gonna strangle this man.
Bushi is going to choke him with a shirt. Not the shirt he's wearing. He's got to get that merch, but a different shirt. He'll have 2 shirts for this one.
Then Kojima Evil.
That will be good.
I think this is going to be the match of the night.
Well, probably, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm 2 big beefy men slapping meat. Like, yeah, absolutely.
My heart, I want Kojima to win. I want Kojima to go to the next round, but I think Evil's going to go through.
I mean, this is a toss-up. There's no reason Evil couldn't lose. Kojima could go through. It'd be fine. He's serviceable. But, Evil's a bigger star. He's higher up in the stratosphere, and we've seen quite a few upsets, and this one wouldn't really serve too much of a purpose unless they have big plans for Kojima, which I don't think they do. So I think you go Evil. Can you see any reason? I mean, the next wrestler that they'd fight is either Goto or Takahashi. Is there any reason to send Kojima through? Kayfabe wise?
Not really. I mean, unless, like you said, like you're going to plan to heat him up this year. He's going to be in G1, have like one last, crazy year. But yeah, I think it makes, with the story of, LIJ being in the tournament, Naito the champion, it makes sense to send a lot of these LIJ guys deep in the tournament. Shingo's already out, so you need some more LIJ guys kind of moving forward here. And it's a possibility of an Evil Sonata clash here if both these guys keep advancing.
Yeah, so I think Evil, and I'm pretty sure Evil is the favored guy in this bracket, most likely. So I'm going to give the nod to Evil, but this is the one I feel one of the least confident about. I'd go like 70-30 Evil.
Okay. So you're saying there's a chance.
I do think there's a chance Kojima could win. I mean, because it doesn't really matter who wins this bracket. So ultimately, who gives a fuck? Like, let Kojima, give some dudes some Weston Larry. It's fine.
Yeah, let's hit that Koji cutter real quick.
Yeah.
Then the main event this night,
we're going to talk about it later, but like MLW might be having like some sort of working arrangement with New Japan. Like,
yes, and we saw the anthology that it dropped a couple weeks ago, showing those great Kojima MLW title defenses. It was excellent. Check that out.
Let this man Kojima go back to get his title.
Yes. Get that Koji cutter. I don't know who's the champ. Oh, Jacob Fatu. Hit that Koji cutter on Jacob Fatu.
I was gonna say I don't even know who the champion is. Like I mean, I guess it's Jacob Fatu. Who knows?
The main event.
So the last match.
Yeah, Goto and Yujiro.
People sleep on Yujiro. I know he does sometimes suck, but like sometimes he puts in a good match, and oftentimes it's during the New Japan Cup.
So yeah, I'm hoping we'll get one of those performances. No, there's no Peter to distract him, so.
Yeah, and there, the last time I remember him being in one of these cups, he cut a backstage promo discussing how, a good performance in the New Japan Cup is his ticket back to the G1. He hasn't been in a G1 in a while, so we might see him come in here pretty motivated. Goto's definitely the guy to do it against. I mean, this could go any number of ways. We could get inconsistent Yujiro, inconsistent Goto. This could just suck and be by the numbers, whatever. Or it could actually be pretty great. I mean, there's no reason it couldn't outdo Kojima Evil. It possibly could even. I also think there's a chance Yujiro could win.
Yeah, honestly, I think this one's another toss-up because you could have Evil Goto. They have history. You get your little Never Strong Style match, or you could do Evil Yujiro, and it's you have the heel Yujiro, and trying to cheat to beat Evil.
I think I'm going to give the nod to Goto, just like probably yourself and most people, and kind of expecting Evil against Goto again, which I'm not a huge fan of. But looking at the possibilities, that's probably the match I would hope for the most. But I mean, Yujiro could sneak one out. I don't know. It doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter. Night 4 is kind of just a throwaway night. Like, this is a have fun. This is a participation trophy night,
Yeah. So then we move on to night 5, June 24th, which was the start of the second round. So we'll have Kazuchika Okada versus Yuji Nagata. What do you think's going through there?
Oh, man. Okay, so I've got to say Okada, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, honestly, I think Okada's going to the finals.
That would be my initial thinking. Now, the one thing that's got me kind of questioning that, the one thing is, why did they have Nagata beat Suzuki?
You need your New Japan Cup upsets, man.
That's true, but there's still the only reason I booked Nagata to go through is because I think he is someone that is beatable for Hiromu. Now, trust me, I'm not holding out like hope that happens. I think the most likely scenario is ultimately an Okada Hiromu, semifinal. But with that being said, could Nagata beat Okada? They've only wrestled one time ever. It was in 2015 during the G1 and the B block, and Okada defeated Yuji Nagata. That is the only time they have ever faced one another in singles competition. Could Nagata, who is a former ace of the company and who is rebounding off of a big win over Minoru Suzuki, could he get a win over Okada so that he's the sacrificial lamb for Hiromu?
He could, but I think it's very, very slim. Like, I would literally be shocked if Nagata ends up beating Okada.
I think that they should have had, at this point, in my opinion, I think they should have had Suzuki win. Just for this reason. If you look at the trajectory of Okada's run, it's pretty soft. You got him in that bottom third region, and you've got him beating Gato, who is old and a non-wrestler and a manager and a junior. Then in the second round, you have him fighting Yuji Nagata, who is a tough competitor, but just literally came back from a life and death war with Suzuki, and he's really old. Let's see how old Yuji Nagata is.
He's 52.
Yeah, bro, he's 52. Holy crap. Okay, so he's fighting a 52-year-old, way past his prime dad. After that, he's either fighting Kanemaru or Ishimori, most likely Ishimori. So as great as Ishimori is, it's another junior. And then he's most likely fighting Hiromu, who, as great as he is, another junior. So you're talking 3 juniors, 2 old people, no contenders. Who the fuck made this bracket for Okada? Who is in his pocket? Bro, what is going on?
This sounds rigged.
That is some rigged ass shit.
Sounds like Gato is secretly still for Okada. I think Okada's joining the Bullet Club.
Like, at least if Suzuki won, then you have like someone who is like menacing, and you kind of like, okay, it's quality win in the heavyweight division,
Yeah.
Who's Nagata beat in the heavyweight division other than, Suzuki recently? Like, nobody. Like, this is some bullshit.
You heard it here first. Okada is joining the Bullet Club. So, this is all a master plan by Gato to get Okada back on top.
So I'm fine with it. I mean, I think Okada is probably going to beat Nagata, and it'll probably be a really good match too. But I'm just kind of I'm a little surprised. Now, part of me wants like Nagata to win, just to kind of keep my hopes alive, like my bracket.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there, but yeah, I think the ace he's going to take it home here.
I agree. It should be good though.
Then next up, we'll have Togi Makabe versus Tomohiro Ishii.
Say what you will about Makabe, but there's one person that draws the old Makabe out every single time. That is Tomohiro Ishii. These guys have had countless vicious and violent wars against one another. I expect that. I expect more of the same here. Let's just hope that we don't see a bunch of unprotected headbutts, because that's usually what we get here. But this should be awesome, and I expect Ishii to go through.
Yeah, expecting Ishii to go through as well. And yeah, it should be a nice little strong style match here. Then we have Toru Yano versus Hiromu Takahashi.
That one is interesting. So, some people kind of hand-waving it, but are you familiar with the history between Toru Yano and Hiromu Takahashi?
I know that I think Toru Yano shaved Hiromu's head back in the day.
Yeah, so when Hiromu was a young lion and Toru Yano had more of a violent heel kind of personality at that current time, during a one-on-one singles match, he shaved the head of young lion Hiromu Takahashi before he went to Excursion. And this is something that they've been playing up in the post-match interviews. Like, Hiromu was like on the ground. He's like, not Toru Yano, anybody but him. I don't want to face him. And so like, he's like, just.
Yeah, because at first they were like, how do you feel about your history of Toru Yano? And he was like, what history? I've never faced Toru Yano. And then he like snaps into it. He's like, oh no, I don't want to face Toru Yano.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. I expect Hiromu Takahashi to win. There's always that caveat, Yano's a heavyweight plus a trickster. I expect there to be some sort of shears or scissors involved in this match, playing up to the past history with the haircut. But I don't know what kind of shenanigans to expect. I don't think this match will be great, but it should be fun, entertaining, and I think Hiromu wins.
Yeah, probably a comedy match, and I think Hiromu will end up pulling out the win, outsmarting Yano. And then we'll have Taiji Ishimori versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. These guys, like we mentioned last week, had a long rivalry in Noah, in which Kanemaru has defeated Taiji Ishimori, I believe it's 11 times in a row. Taiji has never been able to beat Kanemaru in their history and their rivalry. So New Japan kind of bringing that to the forefront here with these two guys facing off.
Well, that's all about to change. Ishimori.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about it. Ishimori going to beat that ass.
Yeah, I think Ishimori is going to get the win here, and I think it'll be kind of a good story for, Ishimori to finally kind of get that big win here.
You know what this is like? It's like when you wait till your dad is really old and then you beat him up. It's like you couldn't fuck with him like when you're young, so you wait till he's real old and then you fight him. And you win.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen here, Bone Soldier.
That's what this is.
Yeah, Shredder's gonna come out here, squash this man like he's a Ninja Turtle, and get the win here.
Nice. And that's our preview. Any other, at this point before we move on, I mean, any other progression, so, I mean, what are we kind of thinking as far as where we're at with the cup? Because I think I see Sonata fighting Okada in the finals.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. As soon as Okada won, I'm like, we're getting Okada Sonata in the finals. They're telling this Okada Sonata story still. Sonata's going to beat Okada, get this big win over Okada again, and then go on to face Naito.
Yeah, I'm disappointed because I made some ballsy calls and some of them paid off as far as my predictions, and I felt happy. But now the one thing that messed me up was Okada, and that busted my bracket, I think, long term, because I was hoping to get Hiromu and Sonata, and it seems like we're getting Okada Sonata, and I think most likely Sonata's going to beat Okada, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
God, what if they have Okada just win this thing again?
Yeah, still Okada Naito.
They could, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll see. All right, so we got a few questions here and then a couple news stories. So first, from Reddit user Grunty Dawes, it says, my routine for watching NJPW was to catch a show after work and then check out Larry Kasanka's star ratings. With Larry's passing, can you suggest another critic who reviews all the NJPW shows and posts them quickly?
I don't think there's one particular. I mean, let's be clear. There is nobody who can fill that gap for Larry. There's no one person. Larry was that one person, and that's it. That being said, there are some good resources. I know they've got some reviewers at 411 Mania. I don't know how extensively they're covering this stuff. Voices of Wrestling, they have a rotation of reviewers. Unfortunately, they don't review everything, but they're doing a pretty good job most of the time throughout the year. Backbodydrop.com is another one that I think they're UK based. I don't always agree with their ratings per se, but they have pretty good write-ups. Good stuff from those guys. That's who comes to my mind.
Yeah, Voices of Wrestling, yeah, they have reviews on the first 3 nights up. You can check them out, but it's a different reviewer usually all the time. It's usually not the same guy.
That's what I don't like about Voices of Wrestling. I love Voices of Wrestling, and I think they're really invaluable, but because they have different reviewers, you're not getting a steady consistent opinion. And most of the time I'm really just looking for those star ratings, to be honest with you, just to kind of get a general idea of something. With Larry, I didn't always agree with Larry, but I at least kind of knew his tendencies and trends. And when you have 4 or 5 different people, you don't know what to expect. There's no baseline.
Yeah. Then Wrestling Observer, FOWonline.com, they have all the reviews up. I'm not sure who's doing those reviews. I'm not sure if it's the same person or if it's different people. But they have reviews up usually pretty quickly. Those are the main ones. If you're an Observer subscriber, Dave reviews them every week. It's not a daily thing.
Grapple app is actually really good if you just want to look at the star ratings, because if you don't click on the match, they don't actually tell you who won the matches.
Right.
So you can at least get the star rating that way as well. It's not a write up, but it's not a bad it's not a bad resource.
Yeah, and it's not daily, but weekly. Like I mentioned earlier on the show, WrestlingHeadlines.com, me, Sir Sam, and Imp, we're dropping some. They're not full show reviews. We're kind of taking our top performers and top matches, but it's another kind of format for reviews there as well.
And then weekly at JoshSmith.com, I review their reviews, so you can check that out.
And also, if you want to throw some money down, Voices of Wrestling, Joe Lanza, he's doing daily audio for these New Japan Cups. So if you want audio reviews, Lanza's doing daily audio there for those tournament reviews. So.
Nah, fuck that. Do you want to pay money to hear Joe Lanza's opinions on daily wrestling matches, or do you want to pay money to have nice, clean-smelling balls? Nerdy wrestling? Have an active, extracurricular outside life because you took care of yourself. You know the way to go. Trust me. Suplex. Use the code Suplex. Trust me.
Next question here from Senor Semburo 3K. He says, it's been a while since I asked anything, so here goes. If the rumor of Hiromu moving to heavyweight were to ever happen, where do you think he would be in the pecking order of the division? Personally, I would see him in the level of just below the big 4 or 5. Okada, White, Ibushi, Tanahashi, Naito, in no order.
I mean, you also have to consider there's other guys that are kind of in the company. I mean, there's Ishii, there's Goto, there's ZSJ, there's Sonata, there's Shingo, there's Will Ospreay. I don't even know that he goes up to heavyweight, but if he did, he would be more in line with the guys that I named as opposed to the guys that you named.
Yeah, he would kind of start off in that kind of mid-card type division.
And I don't know that he beats all those guys that I just named. Like if he was in a G1, I think he would go like 0.600 probably or something like that, a little over 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Hiromu, if this is kind of the start of him elevating to heavyweight and if he will be there. But yeah,
he needs to stay at junior.
I think if he goes up to heavyweight, he will kind of be stuck in the mid-card division for a while because there are so many talented heavyweights there as well.
I think he needs to stay at junior for a little while. I'm not saying I'm opposed to him going to heavyweight. I think he can do it. I don't think size-wise he really should, but I think charisma-wise, business-wise, he's a big enough star and personality to go there, and talent-wise he can do it, and it would be great. But I don't think now is the right time at all. Like, not even a little bit. Like, the junior division would, like, effectively be kind of dead without him. They don't really have much right now.
Yeah.
And the heavyweight division is brimming with stars and talent, and it's in flux with all these different stars. I mean, we didn't even mention, when we were naming all those guys, I mean, we didn't even mention, like, Kenta, Naito. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, and junior division has taken a hit recently. I know they lost Ospreay, lost Shingo. Then right now with the pandemic, a lot of juniors are Gaijin, so we don't have any Robbie Eagles right now. There's a lot of juniors that can't come into the country right now. So yeah, I definitely think Hiromu is very valuable in that junior spot, but I could definitely see down the line at some point him going up to heavyweight. Next question here from Reddit user Asayo Jimbo. Who's your pick for New Japan Cup winner? So I think we're both in agreement, Sonata, right?
I guess it's Sonata. I had originally picked Hiromu. I would prefer to get the Hiromu against Naito match personally. That's why I'm hoping that Okada loses to Nagata, because then I think that my booking comes true.
Yeah,
personally.
And I also in my bracket had Hiromu going to the finals and winning and facing Naito. And I think we didn't get the Naito match at Anniversary Show. Let's do it now. So, yeah, I mean, it would bust my bracket if Okada lost, but it would lead to the better matchup.
Yeah, I think Okada against Nagata literally becomes one of the most important matches of the entire tournament.
Yeah. Then he also asked, what do you guys think of Jinsei Shinsaki? Saw a video on him recently, remembered how awesome his gimmick was, and watched some of his old matches with the likes of Kijimoto, Great Sasuke, and RVD/Sabu.
Yeah, man. I mean, Hakushi's great. I can't sit here and say I've watched as much Michinoku Pro as other guys or Osaka Pro or whatever, but his matches with Brett, his matches with 123 Kid, his matches with Kijimuto, his stuff in ECW. There's a Hakushi Undertaker match out there from Japan somewhere. He's great.
Yeah, I haven't seen much Hakushi, and I haven't really gone back and watched much of his stuff now that I'm an adult. But I remember kind of growing up as a kid, I always thought he looked cool and had some cool matches. There's the Bret Hart match that's talked about a lot. That I believe was on Raw.
He's got two. He's got an In Your House and a Raw match with Brett. They're both really great. I will say, as a kid, I thought he was boring as fuck as a kid. I didn't like him. Bro, he didn't do anything. He put on like a nerve hold. I mean, I understand wrestling, so I thought he sucked. But as an adult, I realized he's really great.
Moving on to the next question here. Reddit user PSAN91 says, I've seen the news that New Japan announced more events that will have an audience in attendance through the end of July. When do you think we will see shows with full capacity again? Do you think Wrestle Kingdom 15 is too soon to run a full capacity Tokyo Dome?
I don't know. It's possible, but we're in Florida where it seems like we might be on the verge of another shutdown, literally. So I don't know what is going to happen going forward. I hope that the cases stay low, but until there's a vaccine, a treatment, travel bans kind of get, I don't know, like, can Gaijin come to Japan for Wrestle Kingdom? It seems not likely. So I just don't know. I mean, January seems like a good goal, but I don't know if that's a realistic expectation.
I think, it just all depends on the number of cases in Japan. It's kind of the effects of, them running shows with fans. Dominion's going to be the first set of shows with fans, and it's kind of the effect of that. And so if cases continue to stay low and nobody at the shows get the virus, I think, slowly we can increase that capacity, and maybe by January or maybe, after that at some point, we can start getting full capacity again.
Yeah.
Next question from our buddy William Johnson in the Wrestling Squared Circle. He says, bigger championship wins so far in 2020. Naito winning both top titles or Juice Robinson winning over Tony Storm?
How dare you, sir? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I will, in the light of current allegations and the current climate, I refuse to answer this question.
Well, I will say, Tony Storm is not a title. She's not a prize.
She is not a championship.
She's a lovely young lady, and
she is a human being with the heart of gold and an incredible soul.
So for that, I'll just say Naito.
With that being the case, though, Juice out here pulling.
Oh man. So next question here from Kyle Martin in the Wrestling Squared Circle. He said in the Shibata episode, you guys mentioned that Katsuyori was technically a second-gen wrestler. Aside from the Tongans, could you name any other second- or third-generation Japanese wrestlers?
Ever? I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's been some. Hashimoto's kid wrestles. He kind of sucks. I don't know. I think Ricky Dozen's kid might have wrestled. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of none that's really popping in my head right now.
There's some Joshi wrestlers that I know, but I'm not obviously as big on Joshi, so I don't know. What is it? Daichi Hashimoto's kid's name?
I think so.
Yeah, he sucks.
Shota Umino's second generation, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, his dad wasn't a wrestler, but yeah, I mean, second generation of the business,
yeah,
for sure.
And he also says, in New Japan's entire history, is it only now in the past decade that NJPW has been the number one Japanese Wrestling Federation, both performance-wise and financially, and in retrospect, were they ever the top promotion prior, or have they always been plateaued as a number 2 compared to All Japan, Noah, and the UWF?
Yeah, that's a great question. That one is a little bit more open to interpretation. I think you would probably need to talk to someone that's a little bit more of a historian than, say, us, because I don't know that we're qualified to give a precise answer to it. I will say this. New Japan, what's the best way I can answer this? The whole war with New Japan and All Japan in the 80s and the 90s was never really a set fixed thing. I mean, I think a lot of people like to have this perception that one of the companies was the quote unquote WWF and the other one was the second fiddle, but it never actually was that way to the best of my understanding. If I'm wrong, someone could correct me, but they just had different audiences. They had different business methods. They had different venues, and they had different varying degrees of success. And they were both extremely hot at similar times. And, I think a lot of the shifts in momentum had to do in the 80s with what happened with the UWF, but also with Riki Choshu. Like when Riki Choshu was in New Japan, they were at the hottest they'd ever been. And then when he went to All Japan, same thing. Business went down for them. So, I mean, it was a war, but it was a much more even war as opposed to the Monday night wars here in the States. We kind of point to that, 93-week period?
Yeah.
Where, it wasn't like that, there in Japan. I think for the majority of its existence, New Japan has always been one of, if not the top Japanese product, if not in ring, at least popularity wise. I mean, there was a period. There's definitely been periods where All Japan was neck and neck, or maybe even higher. And in the 2000s, there's definitely a period where Noah was the preeminent company. There's no denying that. I would not say that UWF was ever bigger than them. They might have drawn bigger houses for a period of time, but there's a reason that when they did the crossover, pretty much all their guys lost to New Japan. They didn't have a TV deal. Yeah, it wasn't the same thing at all. So I guess that's just a convoluted way of saying that they've always been one of the top dogs, and it's not really a clear-cut answer as far as their standing. But the one thing I will say, it's not just in the past 10 years. It's been since 72, since they've existed, that they've been one of, if not the top, company.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up all the questions there. So we just have a few news items here. So it just came out last week on NJPW1972.com that 4 more events will be happening this summer on the New Japan summer schedule. So after Dominion, there will be a show July 20th, New Japan Road, which will be happening at Korakuen Hall. Then they will head to Nagoya on July 25th for Sengoku Lord. And then after Sengoku Lord, they will have the Summer Struggle shows, and this will be happening at Korakuen Hall. All events will take place with strict measures to counteract the spread of COVID-19, and thoroughly check the event policy for those shows if you're planning on going. And further events will be announced upon careful monitoring of the developing global situation. So, more shows with fans after Dominion.
As of now.
Yeah.
Hopefully things stay chill.
Other news item here, New Japan has announced a new show featuring up-and-coming talent facing establishing stars starting in July. The show being called Lions Break Collision, which will start airing on July 3rd at 10 p.m. Eastern, running at the same time and running against 205 Live, which airs on WWE Network. The show is slated to air throughout the month. The announcement noted that former MLW heavyweight champion and radio host for Wrestling Observer, Tom Lawler, will appear on the shows. The July card event will feature Alex Coughlin versus Clark Connors, and Jeff Cobb and Rocky Romero versus TJP and Carl Fredericks. Other wrestlers scheduled to appear would include Mysterioso, Russ Taylor, Danny Limelight, and the DKC.
So just to kind of give me a brief rundown. So they're running 4 more live events in July after Dominion?
So, yeah, the Lions Break is already all taped.
No. But I'm just trying to get a recap. So they're doing 4 more live events in July. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then the Lions Break thing, is this, from what I understand, is this a weekly TV show that will be airing every Friday?
Yeah, so every Friday on the network at 10 p.m. Eastern. So
are they planning to keep doing this going forward? Like they're going to keep creating content for what it's called Lions Collision?
Lions Break Collision.
So are they going to do a Lions Break show every week or taped for Friday nights?
I don't know. There hasn't been any further discussion on the plan. We don't even know if what the plan, if they tested these guys and kind of what the setup was in the LA dojo where they filmed in LA. So I'm guessing if it all went well and it goes over well, then I guess they'll tape more stuff in LA. But for all of July, we'll have these shows, and I guess if it goes well, then they'll continue it on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting idea. The big name obviously is, Tom Lawler. Is it Tom Lawler?
Yeah, Filthy Tom Lawler.
Yeah. I mean, that's someone who we've heard rumors about for, at least a year now. And it's exciting to kind of see him, making the jump over. He's still affiliated with MLW. They kind of alluded to this. So one has to wonder if there's some sort of I'd hate to say working relationship, but some sort of arrangement, in place, to allow this to happen. But ultimately, I mean, it's kind of, I definitely will check it out, but it feels like, a couple more shows just being added that have no actual kayfabe water or weight to them. Very similar to the shows that they did here in the U.S. Earlier in the year that we went to.
Yeah.
Most of those shows ultimately didn't really matter in the long scheme of things. Very, very few eventful things actually happened aside from a title change.
Yeah, and we did have a question here from EMJ Does PR. Thoughts on the U.S. Weekly Show announcement, and is this NJPW getting a bit savvier about its U.S. approach?
Well, we kind of share our thoughts. I think it's not a bad idea, but it depends on the implementation. If it is a weekly show going forward, I don't know. Maybe they could parlay this into some sort of U.S. TV deal. I wouldn't say with this footage specifically, but maybe if they were pre-taping something for the U.S. market plus compiling that with their weekly pro show, maybe they'd have some sort of new thing that they could, market. That might not be a bad idea. It could help for expansion, but again, a lot of this goes back to what we've always complained about, and it's marketing. I mean, we're the guys who do one of the few really successful New Japan podcasts that are out there in the States. And I say that, trying to say that, with not to blow us up or whatever. It's just the truth. And we don't really know that much about this. So I guarantee you that 99% of wrestling fans out there don't know what this is and probably aren't going to be tuning into it for that very reason alone. You have to have a subscription, then you have to kind of know about it. And then, they need to be putting out content that's interesting, good, compelling, investable. And if most of these matches don't matter, I don't know. I don't know how savvy that really is.
Right. It's 2 more matches every Friday night. It's and if they don't matter, then what's the point of even tuning in?
Doing it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, diehard wrestling fans will probably watch it. I mean, I'm going to watch it, but for the casual, for people you're trying to bring in, or people who are only watching the big matches, that's not going to be something that attracts them.
I'm I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think the big answer is getting a TV deal. They need a TV deal, but I'm do they do an NWA Power? something free that's widely viewable, but then it's got to be good. I don't know, man. It's tough.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with these Lines Break Collision shows, if they turn up being good or if they end up doing more down the line.
Watch Tom Lawler and like Narita put on like a 5-star banger, and then like for the next 2 years, you guys have to see Lawler Narita. No one watches it.
Yeah, it's just us. Oh man. And then last thing here, the Monday free match of the week is Prince Devitt versus Kota Ibushi from Dominion 2011 for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. So go ahead and check that out on YouTube or NJPW World for free. And young boy, that's going to wrap things up for us here this week.
Bro, you didn't do a recommended match of the week?
Oh wow, dude, I totally forgot about that.
I bet you didn't even watch my recommended match, did you? El Ganeshi.
I did not, man.
Oh my God. Well, I'll forgive you because we've seen it before, so that's fine. And I kind of gave everyone a rundown. If you guys haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. But off the dome, can you provide us with a recommended match of the week?
Let's see. Recommended match of the week. I'm going to say go back and watch Sho and Shingo from Best of Super Juniors last year.
That's more than solid. Absolutely. You know what? I was planning to do that this week anyway, so absolutely.
So yeah, check that out, and you might notice maybe some more callbacks that you didn't notice the first time from this year's Sho and Shingo match that we just watched and reviewed this week.
Nice, man.
Alrighty, well, that's going to wrap things up for this week. Next week, we'll be back with coverage of nights 4 and 5 and any other news that drops throughout the week. If you enjoy this show, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you're connected with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is @KI Strong Style. You can also follow us @socialsuplex. You can follow me @Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/socialsuplex. In the Wrestling Square Circle Facebook group, you can find us, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Square Circle. On Instagram, we are @socialsuplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy @socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Issue Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesday, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling, Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Fridays, we have Get in the Ring with Danny and Beast Mike. And then on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.